The Build-a-Nation challenge is where you take a nation from outside the top 10 leagues in Europe and take it all the way up to the top spot on the coefficient rankings. I've gone with Kosovo as my nation, as I thought it would be fun to take a very small nation in which I haven't really heard of anyone managing before. As you probably know, when you're doing a Build-a-Nation save, you shouldn't really choose a team in the top flight. So I put all the clubs in the second tier on a wheel and span it. So, Rahoveci is my team. They're a semi-professional side in the second tier, with a wage budget of just £582. So we're really gonna have to be smart with our spending. As we don't really have any money to play with, we've gone for a lot of loans from bigger sides, which Zealand would be proud of. We've got 2 centre-backs in Dardan Bayraktari and Kujtin Pantina, 2 left-backs in Shkelzen Jashanica and Arber Bytici, a right-back in Medina Meti, and finally a DM in Alex Gomis. Oh, and by the way, we didn't have to pay a single penny for all of these loan deals, as the finances in Kosovan football isn't really too great.
Oh, nah, I never knew that.
We started the season strong with a 5-2 win away to Arberia, before smashing Tukoriko at home 6-1. Istogu then humbled us by winning 3-0, before we hit back by winning 5 of our next 8 games. And I just have to mention one of those wins, which was this 4-2 win against Vlasnia, where the poor man's Lukaku, aka Stolkaku, scored a hat-trick while also missing a penalty, all in one game. And finishing it off with a Naruto run to celebrate. These performances would see us topping the table after 11 games played, but it's an extremely tight league, so there is just 5 points down to 9th place. Then, in the 9 games that followed, we only managed to win twice. We went on a 4-game drawing streak, and we're just struggling all round, to be honest. And because of the extremely poor run of results, we were in 3rd after 20 games played. 6 points off Vjosa in 1st and 4 points off Kika in 2nd. We are now in January though, and we do bring in 2 players at this stage. We bring in Benjamin Salo on a free transfer after his contract with Norwegian side Strømmen expired. He's a very tall centre-back at 196 centimeters and is a real presence in the air. Then, on deadline day, we bring in Argentinian midfielder Luciano Minho on a non-contract free transfer, as he was just looking for a new club after being released. But for us, he's a star player, and could really help us in our push for promotion. In Zalo's first game for the club, he actually scored a final goal in a 6-2 victory against Ramiz Sadiku, with this great header. After that game, we won 1, drew 1 and lost 1, before winning 5-3 against Pristina Array, with Rian Sekiri, or Rihanna as I've come to call him, coming on off the bench to score a brace and put the game to bed. That game would actually prove to be a turning point for us as well, as we racked up the wins, first against Vlasnia 2-1, then against Kekju 4-0, where new signing Minho decided to turn into prime Beckham apparently.
Minho could raise the roof here with a goal. I don't believe it!
Then we won 1-0 against Dinamo Ferencváros, which would see us take over the first place spot in the league, as Vjosa had somehow managed to lose 3 games in a row.
What?
We continued our brilliant winning run by hammering 5th place Kika 4-2 to secure our 5th win in a row. This would also mean that we just needed to avoid losing to 6th place Phoenix Banya in the final game of the season to secure the title. And the way I put that, it sounded like we actually did lose. But we didn't. We held on after goals from Stolkaku from the spot and captain Isa Emenaziri to win the first league title and secure promotion to the Super League. Arberia will follow us up to the top flight, as well as Nimi and Drenica go down. As for who won the Super League, Jelani secured the title, and therefore enters the Champions League qualifiers in the first qualifying round, which means that they're 4 double-legged ties away from the Champions League proper. So there's a long way to go. Drita then followed up in 2nd place, so they would normally enter the 2nd qualifying round of the Conference League, but they won the Cup, so they'll get a chance in the Europa League qualifiers. Veronikeli 74 and Balkani then got 3rd and 4th, which sees them entering the 2nd and 1st qualifying rounds of the Conference League respectively. So let's see how they actually do in Europe. Rahoveci 74 lost 5-2 on aggregate to Rijeka of Croatia in the Conference League second quali round, Balkani won 3-1 on aggregate against Crusaders and then 5-1 on aggregate against Bate Borisov of Belarus, before losing 4-2 on aggregate to Panathinaikos. Drita lost 3-0 on aggregate to Midtjylland in the Europa League qualies, and then 4-1 against KF Tirana in the Conference League qualies. Jelani lost 4-1 on aggregate to Klaksvik in the UCL qualies, before winning 4-1 on aggregate against Santa Coloma and 4-3 on aggregate against Sudova. They then lost 2-1 on aggregate to Punic, so all Kosovan teams are out of Europe. Next season we'll hopefully establish ourselves in the Super League, and the clubs that get top 4 next season will hopefully make some progress in Europe. Bring in 3 loans in defense in Miekici, Kabashi and Kadriu, as well as extending the loan of Solmani from last season. We then bring in a backup goalie in Flamur Nasiri, as well as 2 centre backs in Bayrami and Hiseni. In midfield we bring in a DM in Vitia and an AM in Sheu. And finally in attack we bring in 2 wingers and a striker in Singh, Sorensen and Ramadani. We started the season great, with a 5-0 win against Sureka and a hat-trick from M Nasiri. We then won 4-0 against Trepka 89 and then 5-1 against Pristina, with our assistant manager somehow saying he prefers our right winger Singh to Messi.
Sorry, what?
Lukaku then put on one of his vintage displays and lived up to his nickname, the poor man's Lukaku, by first missing 2 sitters and then scoring a hat-trick. Our delusional assistant then said he prefers Lukaku to Lewandowski.
We have Robert Lewandowski.
The 5th game of the season would see us win once again, with Salo scoring a brace from headers and corners, Lukaku missing another sitter, and Sheu celebrating like it's in Fortnite. The next 6 games would be a test for everyone at the club. First, we got denied time and time again against Liria, as their goalkeeper turned into prime Neuer on a whim. Then, a rotated side couldn't even beat the second-tier side in the cup, as we had to bring on 5 starters to save some form of result going into the second leg. Next up was Rahoveci 74 away, where we thought we'd secured a point after equalizing in the 91st minute, but substitute Kabashi decided to do this in the 95th.
These players, they're horrible. My players are no good.
Thankfully, we then won 2-0 in the second leg of the second round in the cup to turn over the deficit from the first leg and advance to the third round. Now we'd play second place Drita, where we apparently forgot how to head the ball, as we conceded 2 goals from corners and lost 2-1. The 9th game of the season would be away to Dukajini Kline. Despite our goalie getting an assist to Sheu, we lost since our defenders were basically asleep. So after a perfect start with 5 wins out of 5, we'd now lost 4 games in a row, which meant we're 7th after 9 games played. We're now up against Jelani at home, the league winners from last season, and even after an early red card for Eddie Bassa, we somehow managed to lose for the 5th time in a row. So as nothing else is working, we're gonna try this weird ass formation. The aim is to literally just score more goals than the opponent. And that became abundantly clear in the first game we used the tactic. We conceded first, but scored 4 goals in the next 14 minutes, and ended up winning 5-3 after conceding 2 pointless goals in the second half. The next 2 games we both scored and conceded very early on. The first of the 2 we won 3-2 after an M Nasiri brace. And the second, we won 6-2 after a hat-trick from Minho. We then enter the 3rd round of the Kosovan Cup, and we're up against top of the table Valesnimi from the second tier. As we literally weren't there for the first 15 minutes, we conceded 3 times and ended up losing the game 3-1. So we really have our work cut out for us in the second leg. The 14th game of the league, we're up against Ferritsai. Our new tactic is proving to be a chaos maker of another dimension, as we're extremely inconsistent. The only thing that is consistent is that we score loads of goals and concede loads as well. We took the lead against Ferritsai but completely collapsed throughout the game, as we lost 5-3. The next game was a lot of the same, as we lost 4-3 to Balkani despite being gifted this goal from their goalie. And Singh did have a huge chance to equalize in the 95th minute, but he somehow managed to miss it. So I've decided to try reverting to the old tactic, the 4-1-1-3-1 snakes and ladders, in hopes of conceding a little less goals. In the first game with the old tactic, we do concede, but only once, which meant that with a brace and an assist from Isa Emanasiri, we'd finally take 3 points again. The following game was against dead last to Eureka. We conceded first after a well-worked move from them, but we would hit back, and in some fashion as well. We scored 6 times before the full-time whistle went, and picked up another 3 points to be within a point of the European places. Now it's time for the second leg of the third round in the Kosovan Cup against Velesnimi. We need to overturn the 3-1 scoreline from the first leg. Zalo, our biggest player, forgot how to mark a man, and we therefore conceded after 12 minutes. Sheu then smashed one of Velesnimi's defenders in the air and made it 4-2 on aggregate. He was once again involved in the play, as he played a brilliant ball through to Emanasiri, who squared it into Stulkaku to make it 4-3 on aggregate. Left back Kadriou then drove down the left-hand side after winning the ball in our half. He played it into Emanasiri, who once again squared it into Stulkaku, who equalized it on aggregate. Right before halftime though, Daniel Tete scored to take the lead for Velesnimi again. 10 minutes after the break, we conceded again, which meant we were knocked out of the Kosovan Cup 6-4 on aggregate, as we couldn't even beat a second-tier side. The next day, the core members of the squad knocked on my office door. They wanted to complain to me about not meeting the board's objectives, reaching the quarterfinal of the Kosovan Cup. They meant that us being knocked out was all my fault, as if they hadn't been asleep for a quarter of the game in the first leg, which ultimately knocked us out. So now the club atmosphere was in the mud, and I'd have to prove myself as a manager, even though we were 7 places higher than the season preview had put us. Against Pristina, we conceded in the 90th minute, and I thought we'd just thrown away the game. But Kujabi got the ball from a throw-in and drove down the left-hand side, before putting in a beautiful cross for Kristoffer Sorensen, who equalized in the 92nd minute, to at least save a point in a game we should have won. We then just about won against 15th place Iberia, before playing ENTIRE Kosovo at home. We controlled the game the whole way through, and a red card for Edison Naziri would help us in confirming the 3-0 result. We then lost 1-0 to Liria, who went to the top of the table with that win, before we'd face 3rd place Veronikeli 74. We conceded first after backup goalkeeper Naziri forgot the first thing you learn as a keeper: don't get beat at the near post. Luckily for Naziri, it wouldn't be a costly mistake, as we turned the game around after goals from Stulkaku, Emanasiri, and a brace from substitute Jetmir Kacholi. We were now up against Drita, which in Norwegian means to be so drunk you can't even walk. So hopefully that'll be the case for our opponents today. Well, it certainly wasn't. We lost 3-2 after another horrible game from our backup goalie Naziri.
The player, if I can call him a player, minute 31, should be in the shower.
Ukajini Kline was our next game. If we win this, we'll move from 6th to 3rd and overtake Ukajini Kline in the process. Zalo finally remembered how to head a ball again, so he took the lead after under 2 minutes. We then doubled our lead, as Emanasiri picked up a loose ball after Singh had hit the post, and Sheu finished it off. Minho got us a pen in the 58th minute, which Stulkaku slotted away nicely, before left-back Kadriou scored a well-worked goal to put the game beyond all doubt, and move us into 3rd in our first season in the Super League. In the next 4 games, we only picked up 5 points from a possible 12. We would have had 7 points if it weren't for Ademi acting like Superman, and Arbner Sakiri deciding to take a short free kick in the 96th minute. But that draw meant we were in 5th, with 2 games to go. We'd have to win the last 2 games, and we'd also have to rely on other results going our way. We did our job in the first of the 2, as we won 6-0 against Feritsai after being 5-0 up going into half-time. The final game of the season would be against Balkani at home. We took control of the game from the very first minute, and went on to win the game 4-0 after a brace from both Sheu and Emanasiri. That wouldn't be enough though, as there's position playoffs in Kosovo apparently. So we'd have to play Veronikeli 74 in an all-out brawl for the final spot in Europe. A minute into the game against Veronikeli, we put together a brilliant attack all the way from Ademi to right winger Singh, who finished it off to take the lead after a minute and 22 seconds. And even though Singh got injured a minute later, we didn't stop the brilliant display we'd put on so far. We doubled our lead through Salo in the 9th minute, before Minho put away the third 20 minutes later. We did get a fourth before halftime as well, as Sheo sent a rocket ship of a shot into the top corner. And eventually we did get the fifth and final goal of the game after a great assist from Kadriu to square it into Sheo. With that, we confirmed our place in European football with a 4th place finish in our first season in the Super League. After such a successful season, where Lukaku also finished as top scorer, I did get offered a new contract for another year, which I gladly accepted. We're heading into European football for the first time. And we're up against Petrokub Hinchesti of Moldova in the first qualifying round of the Conference League. But first, we need some signings. First of all, we bring in a heap of players to try and establish a loan farm for the coming seasons. But among the players who'll be in and around the first team, we've brought in 3 young Belgians in Noah Thijs, Jossada Rudder and Nathan Rooms, 3 South American centre-backs in Jose Mendes, Manuel Reynoso and Renan Carlos, an Argentinian left-back in Baltasar Corbalan, 2 backup midfielders in La Pastica and Agnaldo, a new starting keeper and backup keeper in Ibrahim Cisse and Carlos Kameni respectively, and finally a Brazilian star winger in Kaká. Yep, that's his actual name. We've also got loads of Regen 17-year-olds coming in at various points of next year as they become 18 years of age and therefore eligible for a move away from their countries. And this list I'm showing just kept on growing. But now, it's time for Europe. "19 minutes into the first leg, Petrokub took the lead through Chabotari, before doubling it through Patrashko 6 minutes later. Right before the interval, we got one back, as Kaká took on his man and slotted it in nicely with his weak foot. After the break, neither teams created all too much, but in the 74th minute, new signing Rooms found substitute Sekiri, who found the head of Lukaku, which made it an easy finish for him to equalize and open his scoring account for the season. The game once again went quiet, before La Pastica got the ball in the 90th minute. He decided to just stand there with the ball and stare into the abyss, which in turn led to Petrokub taking the lead with 5 minutes to go. But in the 95th, Arner Sekiri took matters into his own hands, as he went full Messi against Bilbao mode before sweating it to Lukaku, who got his second and our third of the night. So it's basically a clean slate for the second leg, as the first leg finished 3-3. The second leg started with Lukaku taking the kickoff to Corbalan. After a few passes in the midfield, the ball ended up with Sheu. He played a brilliant ball through to Lukaku, who put the ball in the back of the net after 17 seconds had been played. What a start! It would take until the 45th minute for something to happen. Petrokub got a corner which got whipped into the back post, where the rudder pushed the guy as he was about to jump up, meaning a penalty was awarded. Galak then scored that to equalize right before halftime. After a few half chances for both teams and a disallowed goal for Petrokub, the Moldovan side took apart our defense in the 91st minute with a well-worked move finished off by Roska. I then naturally went all-out attack, which in turn got punished. Their goalkeeper, Jenner, got the assist for the final goal, as our centre-back Bayrami decided to wait for their striker to take the ball before starting to run. So that means a 6-4 loss on aggregate and no European football for us. As for the other 3 teams in the league who are also playing European qualifiers, Dukajini Kline lost 4-0 on aggregate against Slovan Bratislava in the Europa League first qualifying round. And then they lost 3-1 on aggregate against Slovan Liberec in the Conference League second quali round. Drita got a tough draw in AIK from Sweden in their Conference League second quali round, which they lost 4-3 on aggregate. The champions from last season, Lyria, were up against Shamrock Rovers in the Champions League first qualifying round. After a 1-1 draw away in Ireland, they somehow managed to lose 2-1 in the second leg. They then dropped to the third qualifying round in the champions path of the Conference League, as they got a bye through the second round. They once again drew in the away leg before losing 1-0 in the second leg, so no European football for any Kosovan team this season either. These horrible results in European qualifiers means we've dropped 6 places in the coefficient rankings. Other nations around us have done well, and we've done horrifically.
I am in incredible pain.
We started the league season by winning 2 games against Trepka and Lapi, before losing 3-2 to Balkani. We then hit back in great fashion by winning 6-1 against the guys who knocked us out of the cup last season, Velesnimi, and Stolkaku got himself 4 goals in that one game. In the next 4 games we only picked up 5 points, despite Stolkaku getting another 5 goals. So change was definitely needed. And we have also been knocked out of the cup, by the way, as we collapsed in the second leg against Balkani to lose 4-2 on aggregate and disappoint the board with our performances in the cup yet again.
Sit down! Nobody talk! Sit down!
I decided to change to a 5-back with an attacking left wing-back, which means that we basically have 5 players defending and 5 players attacking. We saw some immediate success from that, as we picked apart Veronikeli 74. After a brace from Jose de Rudder, including a deflected handball goal, which just hit him. And yet another brace from Stolkaku. He's now at 15 goals in 9 games, by the way. And he's the top scorer of the league by 6 goals. These performances from the poor man's Lukaku is genuinely like nothing I've ever seen before. The following game, Stolkaku actually missed a pen for the first time ever, I think. Kaka then missed from about 3 yards, but scored this instead 7 minutes later. That wasn't enough though, as we managed to drop points to newly promoted Vustria. Oshegu then scored this incredible goal against Fusha Kosova in the next game, but then ruined it by celebrating like this. Stolkaku then scored to get his 20th of the season and secure the 3 points. In the next game, Trepka 89 shocked us by winning the game 1-0 after having over 2 XG while we had 0.46. But the thing they scored from was infuriating.
I prefer to kill him.
Fortunately, we did hit back by winning the next 3 games, as Kaka really turned up the heat. He scored 4 goals in the last 2 games, where one of them was beautiful like this. And another a bit less beautiful. Those 3 wins means we're third, as we're at the halfway stage. There's 4 and 6 points up to second and first respectively, and we have a 4-point gap down to 5th. The poor man's Lukaku is absolutely keeping up his form, as he's 5 goals ahead on the top scorer list. And he scored 2 more goals than he's played games. The following game, Stolkaku got a hat-trick to continue his insane form, as we won 3-0 against Lapi. We then played Trepka at home, where he got off to a flying start, as we scored 4 goals in 11 minutes. That included a brace from Stolkaku, where his second goal came from him pushing 2 defenders away with his aura. In the end, we won 5-1 to secure another 3 points. We then comfortably won 3-0 against Balkani, before barely winning against Velesnimi, where we missed a pen and had 2 goals disallowed. Lyria then got smashed. Singh got 2 goals and an assist, Stolkaku got a goal and 2 assists, and the Rudder scored this brilliant header to lob the goalie. As we've won 8 games in a row, we have now overtaken both Balkani and Pristina to be in first. As Pristina just lost to Dukayini Kline, we overtook the top spot. The next game was against Drita. We took the lead early through none other than Stolkaku, as this P-roller somehow went in. Drita then equalized 25 minutes later, but at the hour mark we got a pen, as Drita's Baftiu handled the ball on a corner. Stolkaku slotted it away, and that was just about enough to get the 3 points once again. But there was some sad news as we got back after the game. Harmohan Singh had picked up a nasty hip injury and would miss the rest of the season.
Oh, jeezy pips, man.
We picked up another 6 points in the 2 next games, as we beat Pristina 2-0 and Jelani 3-0. The next game I decided to rotate the team a bit, and bring Jose Mendes V2 and Noah Theis into the starting 11. Both of them thanked me for the opportunity by scoring a goal. So those 2 goals plus a penalty goal from Stulkaku meant we once again picked up 3 points. We've won 12 games in a row now and are 4 points clear at the top of the league. The next game, however, would see us drop points for the first time since the 9th of November, as we drew 1-1 with Vustria just like we'd done in October. We still had a 4-point gap though, as Balkani and Pristina drew against each other. We then faced ENTIRE Kosovo, where the rudder scored after 17 minutes and some pinball in the box. Stulkaku then scored as he'd failed to score in the last game, so then he might as well score now. Then he got a second. And then a third.
You're joking. Not another one?
And despite getting a hat-trick, he didn't even get man of the match. We're now up against Trepka 89, the team we last lost to back in November. It was a very tight game, just like last time, but as Sheu got injured literally a minute after coming on,
You fucking donkey!
his replacement La Pashtika would send us in the lead just 10 minutes later. That would be enough, as we won 1-0 after having less XG than Trepka 89. But 3 points is 3 points. The third last game of the season, we were up against Dukajini Kline. If we win and Drita drop points, we've guaranteed the title. We took the lead in the 29th minute through Stulkaku. 9 minutes later, Poshegu found Stulkaku in space, who in turn played Kaka through on goal, who toe-poked it near post to double our lead. After making a few subs at the hour mark, substitute Kujabi got the ball after a corner and scored a deflected goal to cement the result. We would have to wait and see if we won the league though, as Drita were playing later in the day. A few hours later, we saw that Drita had lost to Pristina, which meant that Rahoveci are champions of Kosovo. In just our second season in the Super League, we've won it. That is absolutely crazy. Another crazy thing is that Stulkaku got top scorer in the league by 10 goals. He scored 33 goals in 30 league games. My guy's out there moving like Haaland. The young players we signed during last season are now starting to come in, and some of them are looking very promising. Among them are Gilvan, Miguel Angel, Federico Lazzaroni and Miguel Almendra. They're all good Super League players already, at just 18 years old, so they're probably gonna play a big part this season and especially the coming seasons. We also bring in 3 slightly older players to provide squad depth, in Matteo Sorsi, a backup goalkeeper, Benjamin Kaisi, a backup right wing-back, and Ali Babai, the second place on last year's top scorer list. He'll probably play quite a bit actually, and rotate with Stulkaku. Then, on deadline day, we bring back the cult hero Benjamin Zalo. We've paid quite a bit to get him back actually, but in return we've sent 2 of our youngsters on loan to Dukajini Kline, so it's a win-win for us. Now, it's time for the champions! We're playing away to Cyprian side Omanoia in the first leg of the first qualifying round in the Champions League. And the funny thing is that Kjetil Rekdal is their coach. He's a Norwegian manager who actually got sacked by Omanoia after a month in real life, and went on to get a job at Norwegian second tier side Ålesund, who are in a relegation scrap after just being relegated from the top tier. Anyway, the Cyprian side take the lead after just 5 minutes, as Jussi the Rudder plays a horrible ball across the pitch which Ioannou picks up. He goes with the ball all the way to the byline before sweating it to striker Tomane. We basically didn't have a single chance throughout the whole first half, as we went into the break with 0.03 XG. Omanoia then doubled their lead in the 62nd minute, as Ioannou once again played a brilliant ball into the box for Nicolaou to tap in this time. I now made 4 subs, as this was just a horrible performance thus far. And those subs most definitely worked. Substitute Theis played a brilliant ball to other substitute Oliveira, who squared it first time to Stulkaku to open his account for the season and bring us back into the game. 2 minutes later, Almendra got the ball on the right hand side and drove towards the byline before being tripped up. The VAR call was that the foul was outside the box, but that didn't matter to us, as Korbalan took the free kicks short to centre-back Noah Theis, who scored to make it 2-2. The game then went completely quiet until Omanoya got a corner in the 91st minute. So Mane would score again to get his brace and take a late lead. We then conceded again, as we couldn't clear the ball, so Ioanu then scored to take a 2-goal lead going into the second leg back in Kosovo. The second leg was nowhere near as end-to-end as the first. We lost 2-1 after a Stolkaku pen and Omanoya having 0.9 xg and scoring 2 goals. So it's Conference League qualies for us then. So we're in the second qualifying round of the Conference League now, and we're facing the New Saints of Wales at home in the first leg. But it's not really at home either, since our stadium apparently isn't up to European football standards, so we're playing our home games at Stadiumi Fadil Vokri. The first leg was absolute mayhem. We took the lead early through Kaka, but we then conceded 2 minutes later. We then scored in the 27th minute through Korbalan to go into the break with a 2-1 lead. TNS then initially equalized in the 50th minute, but it got disallowed as one of their players, who was in offside, disturbed our goalie Cisse. We then pounced on that, as Rooms played a fantastic lofted through ball to Almendra, who squared it to Kaka for him to get his second and our third of the night. Just 13 minutes later, however, TNS got one back, as Hughes went through on goal and slotted it into the bottom corner. In the 90th minute, substitute Babai gave the ball away very easily, which in turn led to TNS equalizing at the death. In the second leg, we took complete control of the tie, as Kaka scored early on again in the 8th minute, and Almendra then scoring in the 21st. Almendra then got the ball from Rangel and played it into the box, but this time it wasn't Stolkaku that scored. It was the TNS defender Lawson Cleat. So we took a 3-0 win in the second leg to win 6-3 on aggregate and move on to the third qualifying round. There we'll face Skendia of North Macedonia. The first leg was a complete disaster. Despite taking the lead early through Babai, we conceded 5 straight goals. Before eventually getting a consolation goal in the 95th minute through Babai again. So we're 5-2 down going into the second leg at home in Kosovo. We had plenty of chances in the second leg, but only managed to score 1, which was a pen dispatched by Korbalan. We really ruined our chances in the first leg and didn't really have a chance to make up for it in the second. So we're out of Europe once again. In between the 2 legs against Skendia, we also had a Kosovan Super Cup final against Veronikeli 74. I played a completely rotated side to be fit for the second leg against Skendia, but we did actually manage to be competitive. Despite a hat-trick from Stolkaku, we did lose 5-4 after an end-to-end game. As for the other teams in Europe, none of them managed to do all too much either. Veronikeli 74, the winners of the cup, lost 6-3 on aggregate to Irish St. Pat's Athletic, while Kani lost 5-3 on aggregate to Finnish side Maria Hamn, but Rita actually went through a round. They won 9-2 on aggregate against Montenegrin side Desic after Arb Manaj scored 6 goals in the second leg. They then impressively drew away to Polish side Pogon, but then lost 4-1 in the second leg at home. So once again, no European football for any Kosovan team. We do stay at the same spot in the coefficient rankings though, so that's at least something, not dropping further down despite having horrific qualies in Europe. We started the league season rather badly, as we drew 2-2 away to newly promoted Pristina Array. The 2 goals were something positive to take with us though, as Ali Babai scored his first league goal for us in his first league game, and the same with Gilvan, only that his was a clutch goal and an absolute screamer. Korbalan then followed that up by scoring this in the very next game against Dukaini Kline, where we picked up our first 3-pointer of the season. We then won just one of our next 3 games, so I decided to change a couple of things with the tactic. I went away from using wingers and changed it into a 5-2-1-2 to utilize both Babai and Stolkaku up front, as well as Gilvan in his favoured attacking midfielder position. That worked wonders against Kekju, as Stolkaku and Babai scored one after another in just 2 minutes in the 11th and 12th minute respectively. They went on to get a brace each, and Gilvan also joined the fun with a goal.
I am Jose Mourinho.
That win means we're sat in 5th, already 5 points off the top. So hopefully the tactical change can give us a boost in performances. We then won 3 of our next 5 games, where we beat Malisheva 3-1, Velesnimi 2-1 and Jelani 3-0. But we lost 1-0 to Drita and 2-0 to Balkani. Those games were crucial to avoid losing, as Drita and Balkani are the teams we're fighting with at the top. So after 11 games played, we're in 3rd, tied on points with Liria in 4th and Pristina and Ferencváros not far behind. There is also a 7-point gap up to Drita in 1st, so it'll be very hard to catch up to them. As you may have seen, we have advanced from the 2nd round of the cup against 2nd tier side Suareka. We won 5-1 in the first leg, so I decided to play with a completely rotated side for the second. Youngster Roberto scored a brace, and Salo scored one as well, but in the end we lost 4-3, but won 8-5 on aggregate to secure our place in the 3rd round. Our form continued to be very inconsistent, as we won just 3 of our next 7 games. A couple of them were really frustrating as well, like this one against Pristina. We equalized in the 91st minute, and then scored what we thought would be the winner, but it was just about offside. Then, in the next game, our substitute Oliveira scored in the 87th minute to take the lead against Ferencváros, but we then conceded straight from kickoff, with the scorer being his first goal of the season. The poor results in this 7-game stretch meant we're still in 3rd, but now only 2 points behind Balkani in 2nd, and a crazy 10 points behind Drita in 1st, so I don't think they're catchable, to be honest. We have once again advanced in the cup, as we beat Malisheva 4-3 on aggregate. In the first leg we drew 2-2 after an early goal from Korbalan and a screamer from range by Jose Dorado. And in the second leg we won 2-1 after 2 headed goals from Stulkaku and Gilvan respectively. A few days later we got 8 players through the doors as the January window opened. 2 of them were quite horrible signings, to be honest, but you do have to take a few risks to find the diamonds. But the other 6 were already great players despite their young age. Manuel Suestas would take one of the centre-back spots in the team. Jorge Cabral would take Kaká's spot on the left wing as the Brazilian was out for 3 to 4 months. Juan Jose Cardozo and Liedson would rotate in the centre-mid spot, and Gabriel Rodriguez and Jeremy Suarez would take Korbalan and Stulkaku spots in the team respectively, as Korbalan was injured and Stulkaku wasn't really performing too great. And oh my, would I go on to be happy with those decisions. We started to play some brilliant football as we just kept winning games. In the 19th league game of the season, Rodriguez and Liedson both scored on their debuts as we won 3-2 against Vystria. Then we faced Drenica in the quarterfinal of the Kosovan Cup. There, Jeremy Suarez got a brace on his first start for the club, and Jorge Cabral got himself a brace too in his second game for the club. Gilvan also got a 10.0 rating as he got a goal and 2 assists in the 6-1 hammering of 2nd tier side Drenica. Jorge Cabral continued his insane form as he got a brace and an assist in the space of 7 minutes against Veronikeli 74. That would get him a 9.8 rating and man of the match in the 4-0 victory. We then won 1-0 against Kekju, 2-1 against Malisheva and 3-1 against Drita in 3 very close games. The next game and the 24th league game was at home against Velesnimi. The guests took an early lead, but Suarez equalized in the 17th minute. We then should have had a pen in the 52nd, but it wasn't given.
A penalty or... Yeah, but every fucking time we get penalty, they don't give us penalty. This, against Sunday, we get penalty, they don't give. And this time also, before I hit the ball, he'll shoot my leg. And the referee, they're like, they don't have eyes. What the fuck?
But Gilvan thankfully gave us the lead 15 minutes later. Suarez then got his second of the night in the 74th, before getting a third in the 91st minute. Right after that, he got an assist to Gilvan to make it 5-1. Nea Nui then scored this outrageous free kick to get a consolation goal for Velesnimi, before Suarez once again scored to make it 4 goals and an assist in a single game. And also, that game had 4 goals in 90 plus minutes. That's unheard of. We then continued our winning streak by winning 4-1 against Jelani, which means we're in second and just 4 points off Drita in first. That gap has gone down massively in the past 4 months. After our win against Drenica in the Kosovan Cup quarterfinal, we're up against Balkani in the semis. We conceded very early in the first leg, as our left side was wide open for some reason. We then had a shot blocked on the line, as well as a goal disallowed. Before Suarez was through on goal with only the keeper to beat, but he hit the post. Balkani then ended up countering and scoring in the 91st minute to take a 2-0 lead going into the second leg. In the second leg, Suarez scored a screamer in the 12th minute to make it 2-1 on aggregate, but Cisse then undid that by coming out to claim the ball and completely whiffing it and falling over.
And I am sick to death of this goalkeeper. I would be fighting him at half-time. There's no getting away from that. I would be swinging punches at that guy.
Gilvan then scored in the 59th minute, but we couldn't get the all-important goal at the end, so it ended 3-2 on aggregate despite our 4.33 xG compared to their 1.62 over the 2 legs. The next game was against Pristina at home. We took an early lead through Almendra before conceding a pen straight after. But Cisse saved it.
It's his job, isn't it? That's his job to make saves.
Pristina then got their equalizer right before the break, as our old player Minho got the assist. Straight after the break though, Cardozo did this. But we once again conceded, as Slimani was left unmarked and scored to make it 2-2. We conceded again in the 68th, but we got a pen in the 83rd, which is never a pen by the way. But Corbalan scored it to equalize. Liedson then gave the ball away completely unprovoked, which Pristina scored from. But there would be yet another twist, as Gilvan scored right at the death to make it a 4-4 draw in a ridiculous game. We then drew 2-2 against Ferritsai in the next game, which means there's still a 4-point gap up to Drita, as they've also drawn their last 2 games. So it's still possible. The third last game of the season is at home against Liria, and turned out to be a game which can only be described as idiotic. We took the lead after under a minute through Cabral. Liria equalized 3 minutes later. We then took the lead again 2 minutes later in the 6th minute. But Liria equalized again 2 minutes later in the 8th. Right before the break, Almendra picked up a loose ball and smacked it into the top corner. But Liria equalized straight after once again. And right after the break, Liria scored to take the lead for the first time in this game. But we would hit back not long after, as Gabriel Rodriguez got an assist to the assist with a backhand pass. In the 75th, Liria took the lead again, as the ball just about crossed the line. But we would once again hit back, with Enzo getting his first goal for the club. He then scored again a minute later to take the lead. Liria then obviously hit back and scored 3 minutes later, but Enzo would be involved in the play again, as Almendra scored from this insane pass to take the lead 7-6. And Liria did actually have a chance to equalize again, but they fortunately missed it, which meant we picked up 3 points after a 7-6 win. 13 goals in 1 game. What the fuck? In the next game, Cardozo got an early goal to take the lead. But Trepka 89 equalized in the 30th. Right before halftime, Almendra got a red card for a completely clean challenge. How is that a red? We did manage to hold on for the rest of the game to get a 1-1 draw. That does also mean that Drita have won the title. But then again, we have actually secured the second place and European football once again. With Drita winning the league last season, we're out to reclaim the title. But before that, it's time for Europe. But even before that, we need some signings. Oh, we haven't signed anyone? Well, okay then. Straight into Europe it is. Well, that's not entirely true. We've signed loads of players, but we've offered them out for free to other Kosovan clubs in order to make their squads better so we can send our players on loan to them in the long run. But there isn't actually a single signing in the summer window that we'll be using. We'll have to go the hard way through qualis this year, as we didn't win the league. We're playing BIGGEST from Luxembourg in the first qualifying round of the Conference League. First of all, we have a field day in the first leg, as we win 8-1 in Luxembourg. 2 goals each from Gilvan and Almendra earned them a 10.0 rating each as we hammered BIGGEST. And the second leg got even better. We beat them 9-1 in the second leg to make it 17-2 on aggregate. Gilvan got a goal and 3 assists this time, and Suarez got himself a hat-trick to make it a 10.0 rating for both of them. We're now up against Torpedo Kutaisi of Georgia in the second qualifying round. We took an early lead in the 9th minute as Gilvan scored a free kick for the 3rd game in a row. Not a lot happened through the game until Torpedo scored the equalizer in the 91st minute. After only having 0.12 xG throughout the whole game, they've now scored the equalizer to make it a much tougher away fixture for us. After only 3 minutes of said away fixture, Cabral had a huge chance go bigging. He took a shot at an almost open goal, but Torpedo's goalie somehow got there and made one of the most ridiculous saves I've seen on this game. Torpedo then hit the bar in the 19th minute, before Gabriel Rodriguez decided to do this, which led to the Georgian side to hit the woodwork again.
On my mom's life, he's playing against us. On my nan's grave, he is playing against us. I swear to God. On my nan's grave, bro! He's playing against us!
Then it was our turn to hit the frame, as Torpedo's goalie tipped Cabral's shot onto the post. In the 79th minute, Jorginho split open our defense, so that Makaradze could just tap it in to take the lead. Just a minute after, Gilvan went through one-on-one with the goalie, but somehow managed to put it off target. That was our only real chance to hit back, as Torpedo defended well. So once again, we're out of Europe.
Sacked in the morning! You're getting sacked in the morning! Sacked in the morning! You're getting sacked in the morning!
The other Kosovan teams have actually done really well, except for Feritsai. Feritsai lost 5-3 on aggregate against Dinamo Batumi of Georgia. But Balkani and Drita have done wonders. Balkani faced Kaunas Žalgiris of Lithuania in the first quali round and went through on pens after a thriller of a second leg. They then won 5-4 on aggregate against Borac Banja Luka of Bosnia before unfortunately losing 2-1 on aggregate to Aras Nakhchivan of Azerbaijan in the third qualifying round. But some brilliant coefficient points earned there. Drita did even better. They first went through against Klaksvik in the Champions League qualies, before losing to Dunstreda and then to Derry City in the Europa League qualies. But they then won 4-1 against the New Saints to qualify for the league phase of the Conference League. We finally have a Kosovan team in a European competition. It would have been nice if it was us, but this series is about building Kosovo, so I'm gassed either way. They did go on to lose all 6 league phase games, but we've at least got our team to Europe. Those results means we've picked up an okay season in terms of coefficient points. We've got 2.375 points this season compared to the 1.25 from last season and a 0.5 from the one before that. So if we can keep building on that in the coming seasons, then we're getting somewhere. In the league, we started brilliantly with 3 convincing wins against Vustria, Kosova and Balkani. Lukajini Kline then put us right back down to earth after making a comeback to win 2-1. We then beat Trepko 3-1 before being humbled by Liria, as we lost 5-2 despite both teams having 1.6 xG. Gilvan then got a brace in each of the next 2 games, which won 2-1 and 4-3 against Feritsai and Trepko 89 respectively. He celebrated that with a chicken dance. We would then face Yelani 3 times in the next 10 days, as we were facing them in the cup first and then in the league straight after. In the first leg of the cup, we drew 1-1 after a late equalizer from Korbalan. But in the second leg, we actually managed to lose 1-0, as Cisse once again made a big mistake leading to a goal.
What is the goalkeeper doing? Why are you there?
3 days later, we lost to Jelani again after another mistake from our goalie, but this time it's Matteo Sau, not Cisse.
What's the goalie doing?
We did make a valiant effort of a comeback, but it wasn't enough as we lost 3-2. So I decided to change a few things with a tactic. I changed the right and left centre backs to wide centre backs, and a DM to a halfback, so that he drops in between the back line in possession. And I also moved the left wing in to make it a space for Gilvan to operate centrally in. That worked well against Drita, as we won 1-0 in a very tight game. We got a bullshit pen halfway through the first half, which Suarez slotted away to give us a much needed win against title rivals Drita.
Yeah, I'm a genius.
That win does mean we're ahead of Drita in the table, but we're 4 points off Liria in first, so we'll have to go on a hot streak to catch them. And we did just that. We won 3-1 against Lapi, 2-1 against Velesnimi, and 3-2 against Pristina Array, before facing Malisheva at home. Gilvan gave us the lead after 34 minutes, and some great play by Nathan Rooms. New Maltese signing Aaron Pace would then make his debut on the same day he signed for us.
Because you know I'm all about that pace, no dribble.
Pace then scored just 3 minutes after coming on, but he did a bit of a questionable celebration. He then got his second in the 86th. Talk about an instant impact. We continued our great winning run by barely beating Pristina 1-0. We missed a pen and an open goal, but fortunately and deservedly walked away with the 3 points. After that win, and thanks to our 6-game winning run, we're comfortably in first, as we're halfway through the season. We're 5 points ahead of Drita and Jelani in second and third. Gilvan then scored a hat-trick in the next game, and Pace got his 3rd goal in 3 games, as we beat ENTIRE Kosovo 5-2. Musa Jassi then secured the 3 points 6 minutes after coming on against Vystria, before we won 5-1 against Balkani to make it 9 wins in a row and a 7-point gap down to Drita in second after 18 games played. Gilvan has also won the Player of the Month for December after a magnificent month with 3 goals and 3 assists. In the next game, our defense had a shocker. Cisse got lobbed by a header after 12 minutes. Jose Mendes then gave away a pen right before the break. So we're 2-0 down now. Duchini Kline then scored again as Arloni Lazzaroni got the assist. In the 86th, Renan Carlos got the most blatant red card I've ever seen, as all hope was now officially lost. Gilvan scored a pointless goal in the 90th minute, so it ended with a 3-1 defeat as we lost our first game since the end of October.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
We did hit back straight away though. We won 5-0 against Trepka as 5 different players scored to make it a dominant win. Liria then got beat 2-0 as we got our revenge from earlier in the season, and Suarez and Gilvan scored a cheesy goal each. Pace then scored this outrageous goal against Ferritsai, but it was called offside. Thankfully, Gilvan scored a brace in added time to make it a 2-0 win. That meant we're 9 points ahead of Trepka 89 in second and 10 points ahead of Drita in third. Trepka 89 are having a crazy good season, by the way. They've gone from surviving relegation to European contenders in 1 season. We've now got 2 league-deciding games in a row, against Drita and Trepka 89. Against Drita, the hosts took the lead after a nice attack in the 29th minute. Straight after the break, we got a pen, which Suarez Panenka'd to equalize.
Ice in the fucking veins, mate!
In the aftermath of a corner, Almendra scored in the 88th minute to give us the lead. That would be enough, as we now have a 12-point lead at the top of the table, as Trepka 89 lost 3-0 to Balkani. We then deservedly won against Trepka 89 in the next game. Gilvan and Mikael Ortiz scored our 2 goals to make it a 2-0 win. And we're now 13 points clear of Drita in second and 15 points clear of Trepka 89 in third. In the next game, Suarez scored after 40 seconds. That ended up being the only goal as we won 1-0 against Jelani. And the thing now is, if we pick up a point or more against Lapi, we've won the league. We got a pen in the 18th minute as Lapi's Krasniki decided to play volleyball. Suarez scored that and secured the win against Lapi, which means we've won the title for the second time in the club's history. And 4 games before the end as well. What a dominant league season. The next game against Velesnimi, we got a guard of honor. But we didn't actually win the game. We drew 2-2, which was also our first draw of the entire season. We then won 2-0 against Pristina Array, 7-1 against Melisheva, and 4-0 against Pristina to close out the season. After a brilliant league season where we won the league by 17 points, the board has decided to give us a massive budget for season 6. So we now have to make some progress in Europe and ideally qualify for the league phase of one of the competitions.
Okay, we'll see what's gonna happen next, okay? Okay, we'll see what happens next, okay? Okay, we'll see what's gonna happen next.
Despite a big budget for the 6th season, we don't actually spend anything on actual transfers. We focus on bringing in young talents who can develop over time. The players we bring in who'll actually play for us are few and far between. We bring in centre-back Gareth Thomas from Wrexham of all teams, midfielder Julio De Jalo, and the Spaniard Edu Valiente, who's a right winger who will probably rotate with Miguel Almendra. As we won the league last season, we're heading into the Champions League. We're up against Astana from Kazakhstan.
Very nice. High five.
In the first leg, none of the teams created too much, but we broke the deadlock very late on in the 89th minute as Gilvan slotted it into the back of the net after a great ball from Valiente. In the second leg, Astana scored very early on to tie the game on aggregate. They then had 2 big chances following the goal, but both were squandered. We then had 2 big chances of our own, but we also wasted them. But in the 58th minute, we played some brilliant football down the right-hand side, which Gilvan finished beautifully to take back the lead. In the 74th, however, Rahoveci eventually scores for Astana in the aftermath of a corner. So it's all tied up again. But just 2 minutes later, we lose concentration again and concede again. That also ends up being the result, so we lose 3-2 on aggregate after losing our concentration for 3 minutes.
Pain, suffering, depression.
Now we're playing Shkupi in the Conference League second quali round. 5 minutes into the first leg, we take the lead as Gilvan plays a brilliant pass to Suarez. Then, in the 65th, Osmani played this outrageous pass to Gabriel Rodriguez, who took a touch and rifled it in off the post. As we approached the final few minutes of the game, we thought we'd locked up a 2-0 win, but we were wrong, as Shkupi scored a very late goal to keep their hopes alive going into the second leg in Kosovo. But that hope was crushed fairly easily as we won 3-1 in the second leg after an early goal from Suarez, one from Gilvan, as well as Gareth Thomas's first goal for the club. In the third quali round, we're up against KF Tirana of Albania. Gareth Thomas conceded an early pen after just 10 minutes. Which that guy scored. Felipe Ryan then scored this goal, which Cisse really should have had. Corbalan fortunately pulls one back just a few minutes later, and we go into the break at 2-1. 20 minutes into the second half, Cisse makes another mistake. And to top it all off, we conceded again in the 87th to be down 4-1 going into the second leg. There was only so much we could do in the second leg, so we won 1-0 after a goal from Gilvan. So the feared phrase we all don't want to hear, but once again, we're out of Europe. As for the other Kosovan teams in Europe, Balkani lost on penalties after bottling it in the second leg of the first quali round. Liria also lost on penalties, but in the second quali round, and Drita made it all the way to the fourth quali round, but was beaten by Young Boys. So, some okay results in terms of coefficient points, but we really should be qualifying for the league phase of one of the competitions. In the Kosovan Super Cup final, we apparently lost, despite drawing 3-3 with Liria. But the game didn't go to pens, and I had to watch Liria lift the trophy.
Some of the government, some of it is pretty corrupt.
Not your bit, right?
Yes, but we're corrupt in a good way.
We started the league season brilliantly, as we won the first 4 games without conceding a single goal, and scoring 16 goals in the process, including this hilarious own goal that Drita cooked up, and 2 hat-tricks from our new star man Bruno Fratsau. The next game, we quite shockingly drew to Pristina after they scored this deflected goal as the literal last thing that happened. But the next 10 games, we only dropped points twice, as we won 8 of our next 10. Those wins include a 5-1 hammering of Balkani where Gilvan got a brace, a 7-1 win against Trepka 89 as Jeremy Suarez scored 5 goals in 1 game, and a 5-0 win against Suareka as Fratsau scored this beauty and Gilvan got another brace. So at the halfway point of the season, we're obviously at the top of the league after those results. And we're already 7 points clear. And by the way, we also have our players on the top scorer list, the top assister list, the top average rating list, the top clean sheet list, and the top player of the match list. What's a season so far?
That is bloody lovely.
And around this time is when we reinforced our squad as well, as we brought in Clivert on a free. No, not that one. This one. But he is actually the son of Patrick, so I assume he'll be a decent goalscorer. Wait, what? He's a centre back? Well, okay then. He'll at least be athletic, I guess. We also bring in a Chelsea graduate in Bashir Humphreys. Yeah, I don't know how we've pulled this one off either. But he's here and ready to contribute. Going back to the league results, we won the next game 3-0, which was a very important one against Drita. We scored 2 in very quick succession through Almendra and Fratsau, before Valiente scored not 1 but 2 offside goals. Before he eventually got his actual goal in the 88th minute. In the Kosovan Cup, we eventually got past Pristina Array. We lost 2-1 in the first leg despite having over doubled their XG, but we fortunately won 2-0 in the second leg as an unexpected player in Daniel Awua did some beautiful work to first assist Fratsau in the 83rd and then play this brilliant ball over to Almendra, who basically got the assist to Liedson in the 89th. The next league game, funnily enough against Pristina Array, would turn out to be a sad day for Rahoveci. Jalo gave us the worst start imaginable as he gave away a pen after just 9 minutes. Fotso scored that to give Pristina Array the lead. Jose Mensch then hit the bar with a header from a corner, before Miguel Angel was pushed as he was about to get the rebound, but we of course didn't get a pen. Late on in the second half, however, we did get our pen, but Suarez managed to miss it. So we lost our first game of the season and our first game in 27 games. And to flipping Pristina Array. How, man?
Wagwan generals.
Going back to the cup, we got drawn Balkani in the 3rd round. In the first leg, we took control of the game as we won 2-0 after goals from Valiente and Gabriel Rodriguez. We then looked set for the quarterfinal as Gilvan scored very early on for us in the second leg. But Danfa would score less than a minute after to have some hope reignited. Balkani then took the lead through Lambo. Yes, that's his actual name. Lambo. Fratsau then made a bit of a weird choice by not playing Awua through on goal, but Awua ended up scoring either way as Fratsau drove all the way down to the byline before playing it to Awua. Just 8 minutes later though, Balkani scored again. Lambo outran all our defenders, which to be fair isn't really that surprising considering his name, before getting the assist to Oliveri's shot. Oliveri then scored again just 3 minutes later to tie it up on aggregate. And as it's all tied, we're going to extra time. 10 minutes into the first half of extra time, Lambo scored again, as our defenders were asleep. That was also the result in the end, as we lost 5-2 in the second leg and therefore 5-4 on aggregate. And by the way, just so you know how bad this loss is, We had 3.33 XG, while Balkani had 1.96. I won't say any more than that, but I know someone who'll have some well-chosen words for this.
Man there trying to stop Drogba getting himself into further trouble.
In the league, we now won 4-0 against Veronikeli 74 and 4-1 against Verstria, before we surprisingly drew to Pristina. Ratsau then decided to turn up the heat, as he scored all 5 goals against Malisheva, including this absolute banger in the 5-0 win. We then got a big helping hand from Balkani's centre-back Julius Dirksen, as the Dutchman scored not 1 but 2 own goals. We won the game 4-1 in the end, as Gilvan and Gabriel Rodriguez scored 1 each as well. The dullest game of the season then followed, as we drew 0-0 with Trepka. In the next game, Dukaini Kline took the lead after 24 seconds as Sina got the assist. But we did hit back, as we won 4-1 after 2 goals from Fratsau and 1 each from Gilvan and Kluivert. We're now 9 points clear at the top of the table, ahead of Liria in second, and 11 points clear of Drita in third. We then won 3-1 against Trepka 89 and 2-1 against Lapi, where Bashir Humphreys scored his first goal for the club, and Fratsau celebrated his goal with a folk dance. Denis Lapashtika, the manager of ENTIRE Kosovo, then complained to the media that the foreign influx in our team is ruining Kosovan football, so I've nicknamed him the Hater. We're playing them now, and we fittingly have a chance of winning the league against them. Julio De Jallo gave us the lead after 26 minutes with this banger. Suarez then scored this tap-in after some great wing play by Almendra, and 15 minutes before the end, Kluivert got our third to put it beyond all doubt and secure us the league title once again. We've won it for the 3rd time in the club's history. And also, it feels so good to have shut the Hater up. It's not really working out too great with your Kosovan lads, is it?
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
For the last 3 games of the season, we won 4-1 against Liria, 5-0 against Suareka and 6-0 against Jelani. We ended up winning the league by 15 points, as we lost just 1 game throughout the whole season. We also had a clean sweep at the award ceremony, as Almendra won Young Player of the Year, Player of the Year and Top Assister of the Year. Fratsau won Top Scorer with 32 goals in only 25 league games. And finally Cisse getting the most clean sheets with 15, which is also a new record. It's a sad day for football now though, as Lukaku, aka the poor man's Lukaku, is retiring. He will always be remembered for his incredible performances in the first few seasons of this crazy journey. We're once again heading into Champions League qualies. We've let a few players leave as their contracts were up. So Renan Carlos and Gabriel Rodriguez went to Dukaini Kline, Liedson went to Pristina, and Juan Jose Cardoso went to Villa Mitre in Argentina. We did also sell Mikel Ortiz to Balkani for 120k, while bringing in a better player in that position in Mateus for a fraction of the price. This was in the January window, but I just forgot to mention it. As for the players we've brought in this summer who'll actually play for us, we've got Alan Cardoso, a new rotation option on the left wing back, Marc Montañez, a good-looking attacking midfielder, and Gorka Alonso, a tall, promising centre-back. We're playing Karabag of Azerbaijan in the first quali round. I thought that would be a challenging tie, but it really wasn't. We won 6-0 on aggregate, as Fratsau got a backheel assist and Gorka Alonso scored on his debut. We're now playing TPS of Finland. That turned out to be an even easier tie, as we won 11-1 on aggregate. Fratsau scored all 6 goals in our 6-0 win in the first leg, and he's turning out to be an incredible striker, as we've seen in the past year. We then won 5-1 in the second leg, where Montañez got his first goal for the club as well, and it wasn't an ugly one. And by the way, we're now guaranteed to get some form of European football this season, but we obviously want to go for the holy grail that is Champions League football. And Dynamo Minsk is the next obstacle in the way. Once Dynamo Minsk had scored an offside goal, we woke up and took complete control of the first leg. In the end, we won 4-0 after a goal each from Gilvan and Almendra, and 2 goals from Fratsau. The second leg was way more nervy, as Dynamo Minsk kept pushing and pushing. But in the end, it unfortunately wasn't enough for the Belarusians, as we won 5-3 on aggregate. We're now just a two-legged tie against Norwegian side Sandefjord away from the actual Champions League. By the way, in between the two legs against Dinamo Minsk, we played Balkani in the Kosovan Super Cup final. With a completely rotated side, we actually managed to win after goals from Suarez and Valiente. So we lift the Super Cup for the first time in our history. Before the first leg against Sandefjord, we win 2-0 against Veronikeli 74 in the first league game of the season, as Valiente keeps performing for us. Against Sandefjord, Marcelo Ryan gave the hosts an early lead with this bullshit goal. But we got an even more bullshit goal later on, as Mateus lost the ball to Sandefjord defender Boto. Boto then tried playing the ball to his keeper, but Fratsau was there and could just tap it in into the open net. The game ended 1-1 despite us having some huge chances. But I'm actually not too disappointed by that result, as I've seen that we can definitely win this in the second leg. Before the second leg, Montañez and Suarez scored a beautiful free kick each against Liria. We won the game 4-0 in the end to continue our winning start in the league.
Why not?
In the second leg, we took control straight away. We got a pen after just 6 minutes as Mateus was tripped up. Fratsau scored the pen to give us the lead. Gilvan then really should have scored our second just minutes later, but 20 minutes later, Almendra scored as he picked up the loose ball after Corbalan's delivery. 4 minutes after that again, Gilvan finally scored, before taking a free kick short to Fratsau in the 42nd minute, and the rest I'll leave as is. The Portuguese man would go on to get his hat-trick in the 84th. And after a consolation goal from Marcelo Ryan, we won 5-1 in the second leg and have qualified for the Champions League proper.
I feel very good.
Our league phase fixtures are as follows: Cervena Zvezda, Newcastle, Ajax and Bayer Leverkusen at home, and Fenerbahce, Chelsea, Shakhtar and Dortmund away. Some really cool games, and some where I genuinely think we have a chance. We win 4-0 against Pristina and 5-1 against Malisheva in the next two league games, before drawing 1-1 against Dukini Kline, which means the first dropped points of the season. By the way, we've now grown the loan farm up to 82 players out on loan. We've done a lot these past 2 summers, and we're really starting to build up a decent pool of talent for the other Kosovan clubs. Our first official Champions League game, we're playing Cervena Zvezda, or Red Star Belgrade if you will. Before the game we got an email letting us know we have a 10,000 to 1 odds of winning the UCL this season. So that's very encouraging. The first half against Red Star, literally nothing happened. But in the 63rd, Miguel Angel scored from a short corner. The high wouldn't last long though, as Knetsevic equalized just 11 minutes later. We then took the lead back just 6 minutes after that. The two subs Valiente and Montañez combined to get us the lead. 6 minutes after that again though, Red Star equalized again, as Knetsevic scored from his own rebound. So it's a 2-2 draw in our first ever Champions League game. I should be happy with it, but I really think we could have done more, and I'm annoyed that we gave up the lead twice. Before going into the second UCL game, we drew 1-1 against Drita in the league, as both teams scored a pen. We're away to Fenerbahce in the second UCL game, where they took the lead off a pen after 18 minutes. There weren't really too many chances for the rest of the game before Gilvan had this decent chance, but he put it off target. So he just about lost to Fenerbahce, but it was an absolutely deserved win for them. In the next league game, Fratsau scored a 12-minute hat-trick as he scored in the 13th, 16th and 25th minute. We ended up winning the game 4-0 against Fereca. We're now playing Drita in the Kosovan Cup second round. Clivert scored 2 identical headers in the first leg. Valiente scored 2 in the second leg. And Fratsau scored 1 in each of the 2 games to make it a 6-2 win on aggregate. We then won 4-1 against Lapi, with Cisse having his yearly howler of a mistake. Following that game we're playing Newcastle at home in the UCL. Newcastle have an incredible team, and Zinedine Zidane as manager. The team talk didn't really go to plan, and neither did the game. Wonder kid Javi scored a long-range effort in the 40th minute, which Cisse should be saving, but he didn't. Almendra did have a huge chance to equalize, but he put it wide. So we lost 1-0 to Newcastle, which I'm actually okay with. We're proving that we're actually here for a reason. We're not being pushed over easily, at least not yet. In the next 2 league games, Fratsau scored 5 goals. He got a brace in the 4-1 win against Vurstria, before scoring all 3 goals in the 3-0 win over Jelani. We have actually taken the lead of the league with that win over Jelani. It's such a close table so far this year though, as the top 4 has 26, 25, 24 and 23 points.
Enjoy, whoa, we're close now.
Despite Fratsau getting another brace, Lambo also scored a brace to continue haunting us and to make it our first league loss of the season, as we lost 3-2 to Balkani. Before our next Champions League game, we received the TV money from UEFA, which was a whopping 2.34 million. We're now playing Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. We got absolutely hammered in the first 20 minutes, as Nkunku scored a hat-trick and we were 4-0 down, and you can hear my reactions. James, oh my, what the fuck? Reece James to Enzo to Nkunku, oh my. Oh, we're getting cooked here, man. What's that? What are you doing? Oh, Reece James to Enzo to Nkunku, who shoots and scores. Oh my god, man. 4-0 down in 20 minutes. Right after the break, we did score a goal, as Enzo Fernandez played the ball to Fratsau, who scored relatively easily. But it ended with a 5-1 loss away to Chelsea.
That wasn't very nice. That wasn't very nice. Can I do it to you?
We're facing Shakhtar away in the next UCL game. Valiente picked up a loose ball after 19 minutes and squares it for Fratsau to tap in. Dejalo then somehow missed this just a couple minutes later. Valiente also had a massive chance to double our lead, but he too missed it. Shakhtar hit the woodwork 3 times before getting the ball in the back of our net in the 80th. The Ukrainian side then countered from our free kick and ended up scoring again through Marlon Gomez. Thankfully and deservedly, we scored in the 90th through Montañez as Almendra played an incredible pass to him. It ended 2-2 and we've now picked up 2 points in 5 UCL games. So it's not looking good for qualifying for the latter stages, but that isn't really the goal this season. The 2 next league games, we won 2-1 against Velesnimi after goals from Gorka Alonso and Gilvan, and 3-0 against Pristina Array with Montañez scoring this beauty. Ahead of our next game against ENTIRE Kosovo, the generational hater said to the media that we, Rahoveci, play boring football. Valiente scored after just 8 minutes to give us the lead, but Daniel Awua, our loanee, scored to tie the game 20 minutes later. Fratsau then scored, missed a pen, and then scored again, before another one of our loanees, Batista, scored against us to make it a nervy few minutes at the end. But we came away victorious. How's that for boring football, Dennis? We then won 3-1 against Trepka 89 before facing Ajax at home. Ajax had a couple of decent chances before they finally scored in the 37th, as they got a pen. Kjergaard then doubled their lead right after a break, as Gareth Thomas couldn't clear the ball. Despite Matteo scoring for us, we couldn't get the second, so it ended 2-1 to Ajax in another close UCL game against good opposition. We then won 4-1 against Veronikeli 74 and 2-0 against Malisheva, before the third round in the Kosovan Cup against Balkani. We won 2-1 in the first leg despite initially going down 1-0, as Fratsau scored twice. Early on in the second leg, Cisse made a huge save. Valiente then gave us the lead after a brilliant 1-2 between him and Mateus. From there, it was a cakewalk. Fratsau and Suarez scored one each as we won 5-1 on aggregate to progress to the quarters. We've faced arguably the two toughest opponents you can face in the cup, and we've come out victorious twice. Liria, Pristina and BIGGEST then got beat 3-1, 2-0 and 1-0 respectively, as we're now 12 points ahead of Jelani in second. Edu Valiente then kicked up a fuss during Christmas times. He initially agreed to a new contract, which I was gassed with since he'd had interest from La Liga 2 recently, but then 2 days later he comes to me and says that he wants to consider his options at the end of his current contract. But then 2 days after that again, he does a full 180 and actually signs the contract. This kid is weird, man.
What is this? What is this? For what? Why?
We now head into the Kosovan Cup quarters against Kosovo, where Edu Valiente actually scored straight after signing the new contract. Dejalo then doubled it before Fratsau scored the third and final goal. After 25 minutes of the second leg, we were in the lead 3-0 after goals from Gilvan, Dejalo and Rui Rangel. But in the second half, Kosovo scored not once, not twice, but 3 times to tie the game up.
First half was good, but second half was shit.
Which we obviously went through on aggregate as we had a 3-0 win from the first leg. After a close 3-2 win against Drita in the league, we'd face Borussia Dortmund at the Signal Iduna Park. Straight from kickoff, Fratsau had a huge chance, but he put it just wide of the post. After 13 minutes though, Korbalan came down the left side and squared it into Fratsau, which Slotterbeck was the one who actually put it into the net. Dortmund then scored 2 offside goals in quick succession, before finally scoring in the 70th minute through Fabio Vieira. Literally 2 minutes later, Brandt got pushed and Dortmund got a pen, which Litvinov scored. We did hit back though. Gilvan scored for us in the 80th to tie the game. Vieira then had his shot blocked on the line in the dying stages, and we've drawn away to Dortmund. That's absolutely incredible. Even though we're now officially out of the Champions League, we're still gassed. And it really shows how far we've come as a club. The next league game, we won 3-1 against Ferritside, as Suarez got himself a brace of penalties. The final UCL game of the season was against Bayer Leverkusen at home. We unfortunately lost 3-2, but we fought valiantly in the second half. Our goals came from Stratsau after some nice link-up play between him and Valiente, and Montañez as he scored this banger. By the way, the coefficient rankings are looking good this season. We've got 5.25 points coming in this season, and we're set to move up 5 places as we've now got 12.625 points in total. As we draw the next league game 1-1 with Jelani, we're now 14 points clear of Jelani and Liria in second and third with 7 games to go. So we've basically won the league for the 3rd time in a row. Fratsau then scored all 4 goals in the 4-1 hammering of Lapi, before we surprisingly drew 1-1 with Verstria. In the Kosovan Cup semi-final, we're up against BIGGEST. The first leg ended with a 2-2 draw where Exepi first scored the slowest header I've ever seen, and I don't understand how Cisse doesn't get there. And then Cisse palmed the ball straight to Hoti, who tapped it in to get BIGGEST second. Fortunately, we ran them over in the second leg. Valiente scored first, then Gilvan, then Fratsau with this neat finish, and finally Suarez with an easy goal to put the icing on the cake and take us to our first ever Kosovan Cup final. And we're facing second tier side Drenica in the final, by the way. They beat our affiliate club Vlasnia from the 3rd tier in the semi-final. The final is being played literally less than 3 days after the semis. Such an idiotic setup from the Kosovan FA, man. Because of this stupidity, we have to play an entirely rotated side in the final, since our players are knackered from the semi. Janvier scores for Drenica after 14 minutes. We then scored 2 offside goals in the 24th and 49th minutes, before Gareth Thomas finally equalizes for us in the 75th after an Almendra cross. Almendra then got his second assist as he squared it to Fratsau in the 83rd. The same 2 players then did the exact same in the 91st to put the result beyond all doubt and secure us our first ever Kosovan Cup. A few days later, we win 2-0 against Balkani as Valiente and Dejalo score our goals. Before our title-deciding game against Velesnimi, there's been some developments in the manager situation at Drita. Their manager has been sacked, and guess who got hired by them? The Hater! That's absolutely brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he gets on at the top team.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's match day.
After Gilvan scored an early offside goal, Alan Cardoso gave us the actual lead in the 26th minute against Velesnimi. Ratzau then scored our second offside goal of the day, before Velesnimi scored right after the break. Almendra then decided to do everything on his own, as he won the ball, drove up the pitch and finished it. Literally a minute later, Auroni Roberto scored for Velesnimi to tie the game. Almendra scored again to give the lead back to us, but then disaster struck. Cisse got injured again. First, let me just give you some context in hindsight. Cisse had been injured twice right before this game. First, he fractured his wrist in the game against Bayer Leverkusen. Then he sprained his wrist ligaments in the game against Vustria, and now he's been injured again. So our centre-back Gorka Alonso had to go in goal for the final few minutes as we'd used all our subs. In the 95th minute, the last thing that happened, Roberto hit the bar and Hellstrom shot straight after. But Alonso saved it, which means we've won the title for the third year in a row. And we've won the domestic treble. In the final 3 games of the season, we won 6-1 against Pristina Array, where Fratsau got a brace and Gilvan got a hat-trick, 2-1 against Fusha Kosovo as Gilvan got another 2 goals, and 6-0 against Trepka 89 as Jeremy Suarez scored 5 goals in 39 minutes. Final thing to mention for this season is the budgets we've been given by the board. Just look at this. That's what the Champions League money will get you, I guess.
Just give me the fucking money.
We bring in quite a lot of players who'll actually play for us this season. We bring in a new starting keeper in Sol Bryn, who'll take Cisse's spot. We then bring in Cicero, a promising looking centre-back. Arvid Hellstrom, our new starting DM. Lautaro Marzo, our new rotating left wing-back. And finally Franca and Herman Matondo, who probably won't play too much but maybe rotate a bit in the league. The Champions League qualies were very easy this year, up until the playoffs. We breezed past RFS 13-0, Tirana 8-2 and Debrecen 7-1 on aggregate. We then face CFR Cluj in the playoffs. Despite going 2-0 up in the first leg after goals from Kluivert and Valiente, we conceded twice to make it all tied going into the second leg. Fratsau gave us the lead after 34 minutes as he picked up a loose ball after a short corner. Cluj equalized right before the break though. After a couple of half chances for both teams, we got a pen in the 93rd minute, which Fratsau converted to officially qualify us for the Champions League phase for the 2nd year running. I'll be completely honest with you now and say that this season wasn't the most exciting. So we're just gonna do a quick recap and then move swiftly on to season 9. In the UCL, we won our first game against Red Star to get our first ever official Champions League win. Fratsau scored the only goal from the penalty spots. We then unfortunately lost all the rest of the games. We had close games with Bodo Glimt, Newcastle and Copenhagen, but the rest were pretty depressing to be honest. Valiente also got a straight red card for this, elbowing a guy straight in the face.
Stop it. Get some help.
We once again won the Super Cup, as we just about beat Liria after extra time. Montañez scored a brace, and Kluivert got the deciding goal in the 118th minute. In the cup, we eased past Fusha Kosovo in the second round, with Gilvan getting a brace in both legs. We then won 6-2 on aggregate against Pristina Array, with 6 different players getting the goals. In the quarters, we'd face Balkani. We eased past them as well, as Valiente got a hat-trick in the second leg. Trepka from the second tier then got smashed 8-2 on aggregate, before we beat Liria 2-0 in the final to claim our second Kosovan Cup. As for the league, we started brilliantly with 7 wins in a row. We then drew 2, won 2 and lost 1 in the next 5 games, which was so disappointing that I decided to change the tactic. I tried changing it to a defensive 4 with wingbacks, an anchor in the DM spot, a midfield 3 including a Metsala and a front 2. Even though it worked in the league, it really didn't work in the UCL, and we conceded way too many goals all round. So after 3 league games, a cup game and a UCL game with that tactic, I reverted to the old trusty 5-2-2-1. From that moment on, we won the next 6 games to make it 9 wins in a row, before we drew 1-1 with Velesnimi of all teams. We then won 3-0 and 3-1 against Dranica and ENTIRE Kosovo, before having a chance of winning the title in the next game against Jelani. We won that game 6-1, with Fratsau scoring 4 of the 6. So we lift the Super League for the 4th time in a row, and we move up to 2nd behind Pristina on the list of teams with the most titles. So we end up with a record 81 points this season, and a new record for amount of wins with 26 out of 30. The race for the 3 other European spots went right down to the wire, with Jelani, ENTIRE Kosovo and Balkani claiming them. ENTIRE Kosovo is outrageous, by the way. As late as 2026 they were in the 2nd tier, and the crazy thing is, they only have 3 players on loan from us. The signings in the January window were actually pretty big. First of all, we brought in Figueiredo for free. He's a promising Brazilian centre mid. We then brought in a right back in Luciano Barros for 400k. He'll probably take Mateus' spot in the team. The second last signing was Juan Manuel Solari for 500k from Newell's Old Boys, a very promising goalkeeper who will be taking Solbrenn's spot already. The final signing is the big one. This is Jorge Vargas, who I've nicknamed the Ghost, because just look at him, he's a ghost. Anyway, we brought him in for a record fee of 5.25 million. He's already a brilliant player and will also develop more. We have probably overpaid a bit, but we needed a big signing. And finally, the results in Europe and the coefficient rankings. Balkani won 3-1 on aggregate against Noah, 4-2 on aggregate against Swift Hesperang, but was then knocked out on penalties against KR from Iceland. Jelani went through the first qualifying round on pens, and then lost 4-1 on aggregate against Piast from Poland. Liria first went through 4-2 on aggregate against Finnish side SJK, then they surprisingly won 3-2 on aggregate against FCSB from Romania. They then impressively drew 3-3 against Karabag in the first leg, but then lost 4-1 away from home. As for the coefficient rankings, we got 5.875 points, so we've actually improved on last year, and we're now moving from 40th all the way up to 30th place. That's an incredible year. And from next year, we've got 1 team in the UCL obviously, 1 in the Europa League now, and 2 in the second quali round of the Conference League. That's actually pretty decent. Well, let's move on to the 9th season.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, and a happy new year.
We made a couple of big signings this summer. Anton Kisena, a young striker, Emilio Caparros, a young Argentinian DM, came in for 1.9 million, and the biggest by far, Joaquim Paiva. We bought him for £16.5 million. And this might be very stupid, but I'm going to retrain him into a left wing back. He's not very tall.
He's a very small man.
And he has some good stats for a left wing back role in my opinion. But we'll see in a few months if he's usable there or not. Just like last year, we flew through the qualies for the Champions League. We smashed Vikingur 15-0 on aggregate, Pax 4-0 and Derry City 6-0. Then we'd face Shakhtar in the playoff, a team we'd played in last year's Champions League phase and drawn 2. In the first leg, we went 2-0 up in the first half as Almendra and Fratsau scored 1 each. Shakhtar's Maicon then scored this free kick, which we can't even see. Gorka Alonso then defended like this, which led to Shakhtar equalizing. Fratsau then, deservedly for us, scored in the 92nd to give us the lead going into the second leg. Basically nothing happened in the second leg, before Solari palmed the ball to a Shakhtar player in the 84th, which led to a goal, and eventually extra time. Thankfully, we got a pen in the 92nd, which Kisena scored, and then the same man scored again in the 106th to put it beyond all doubt, as we once again qualify for the Champions League phase. We've also won the Super Cup again, as Valiente scored twice to turn the game around before he got a straight red for doing this. But it didn't matter as we won it either way. So we've now got Chelsea at home, and a massive chance to cause an upset after the hammering 2 seasons ago. Their manager, Michel, even said we were an easy opponent. Other than a decent chance for both teams, there weren't any real danger in the first half, but we actually had the upper hand. Early on in the second half, we took the lead through Figueiredo, or Figs as I've started calling him. Chelsea took control of the game from here though, as they scored an offside goal and hit the post before Corbalan missed this huge chance. The inevitable did happen in the end, as Chelsea scored through Nicolas Jackson and tied the game up. That was also the result, as we've drawn to Chelsea. That's pretty crazy when you think about the 5-1 hammering last time we faced them. And we weren't that easy of an opponent, were we, Michel? The next UCL game was away to Ajax. We got the lead in the 18th, from a pen scored by Fratsau. Literally nothing happened until Hellström got injured just a few minutes after coming on. And we've used all our subs, so we're down to 10 men. And that got punished, as Owen Wijndal scored for Ajax in the 86th. But I'm actually okay with that result, as we were massive underdogs going into the game. We do also just need 2 wins in the next 6 games to basically be guaranteed a place through to the knockouts. You're probably wondering why I'm not mentioning any league fixtures. It's because it's become very stale and easy to win, so it's not too entertaining. I was planning on giving the control of the league to my assistant Stol Kaku, who returned to us last season, but he got poached by Keku. So I've had to give the reins to David Kaba instead. Back to the UCL, we're facing Stuttgart at home. We had some big chances in the opening few minutes, but the Ghost and Kisena couldn't convert. Solari then made a big save as we head into the break level. 10 minutes into the second half though, Barros put this great cross into Kisena, who scored to give us the lead. 3 minutes later, Kisena missed another big chance. But it wouldn't matter, as Stuttgart didn't manage to score a legit goal. They did score an offside goal, but we won the game in the end. We've clearly made some huge progress in the past year to be performing this well against top European sides. We're up against another German team in the next game, as we face Bayer Leverkusen away at the Bayer Arena. Figs gave us the lead in the 26th. Ballerini then got to run the entire length of the pitch without any pressure before Boniface scored to be leveled at the break. We then took the lead again, this time through Marzo with a great finish. We then conceded straight away before conceding a third 10 minutes after that, which means we lose our first UCL game of the season, in a game where we had a lead twice. Somehow we managed to sign Tomas Rosicki as our new director of football, so I'm gassed with that. I then got some of the best news I've ever got, as the hater got sacked by Drita. We've now got Red Star Belgrade away in Serbia, which is a game we should be winning considering our results against much better opposition. We took a 2-0 lead in the first half, as Gilvan and Kisena scored 1 each. Red Star then scored in the 67th, as we were asleep, before Hellström gave them the ball so they can score again in the 82nd. But we fortunately scored straight from kickoff, as Marzo won the ball back after losing it, and Fratsau scored a tap-in to give us the win, and we're now basically guaranteed to go through to the playoff round. The next game against Sporting was a relatively tame one. Gilvan scored a free kick through the wall to give us the lead. And I don't think Sporting's goalie will be too happy with this wall.
What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
Except for that goal, Kisena scored an offside goal, and Sporting missed their only chance in the game. So we won another UCL game. Now we're officially ready for some form of UCL knockouts. By the way, my experiment with Joaquim Paiva has most certainly been a success. He's officially become a left wing back now, and he's performed brilliantly in the last few games as well. We're now heading to the Bernabeu to face Real Madrid. Bellingham scored very easily against us after just 5 minutes. We then scored from our first chance right before the break, as Kisena scored this tap-in. We then took the lead as Gilvan scored this in the 53rd. Paiva, completely unprovoked and unnecessary, got his second yellow. So we're down to 10 men.
Whoops.
The inevitable did happen in the 71st, as Camavinga scored. But they didn't get a winner. We've drawn away to Real Madrid, and while playing almost half the game a man down as well. Against AC Milan, Fratsao scored early to give us the lead. But Rafael scored less than 2 minutes later. Barros then gave away a pen in the 41st, but Solari came up clutch and saved it. Literally nothing happened in the second half, so we've drawn to Milan as well. This was the final standings in the league phase. We got 19th place, which is really good, but it would have been nice to get into the top 16, as we'd get a way bigger chance of drawing a worse team. We then got to the day of the draw. The team I really wanted was Anderlecht, as all the other seeded teams were giants. We most certainly didn't get Anderlecht. We got PSG. Fuck me, man. We're at home in the first leg, but we were without Fratsao, as he got injured against Milan. And we've also got 4 players suspended. Marzo, Cicero, Barros and the Ghost are all suspended. Despite a big chance for both teams in the first half, we went into the break level. 20 minutes into the second, however, we put together one of the best attacks I've seen from this team. All the way from our goalie Solari up to our new left wing back Paiva, who scored. Less than 10 minutes later, Paiva scored again. PSG unfortunately scored in the 79th, which means we have a 1-goal advantage in the second leg in Paris. That's an amazing result, and considering we were missing 5 key players as well. Soulé missed a big chance after just 11 minutes in the second leg, and we took advantage of that. Paiva hit the bar, but Almendra scored a rebound to extend our aggregate lead to 3-1. 20 minutes later though, our best performing player lately, Paiva, got injured and had to be replaced by Marzo. That was the start of the downfall. Militao scored this in the aftermath of a corner, and Soulé scored this just 2 minutes after that. So we're now all tied up on aggregate going into the break. Tomiyasu then scored a header for the Parisians before our goalie Solari got injured. We couldn't bring our backup on as we'd used all our stoppages, so I had to put Cicero in goal. PSG scored twice more in the last 15 minutes, so we crashed out to the Champions League after a horrific second leg where everything went against us.
I am in pain! I am in severe pain!
We once again won the league very comfortably, as we got 76 points compared to Jelani's 63 in second place. It was a bit worse than it's been in the past 2 seasons, but we won it comfortably either way. Kisena also claimed the top scorer along with one of our loanees, Mario Faraco. Faraco actually had 13 goals in 13 games, but really slowed down in the second half of the season. We also won the cup. We first beat Liria, then stole Kaku's Keku, then Velesnimi, and then Balkani to reach the final, where we beat Drita 4-0 to claim our 3rd straight Kosovan Cup, and also our 3rd straight domestic treble. The coefficients are looking really good as well. We've got 9 points this season, and we're moving up 7 places, up to 23rd. But we really need the other Kosovan teams to pull their weight now, as none of them have made a European League phase since Drita all those years ago.
Do your job then! Do your job or don't do it then! Do your job! Don't boil it!
With a great season in the bank, we break the bank this season. Chrysorn from Thailand came in, a new starting centre-back. Brambati then followed, a 16-year-old wonderkid striker. Then Franco Minerva joined us from Arsenal. John Arquila also joined us, but on a free from Real Betis. And finally a backup goalie and backup left wing-back in Mdluli and Mejia. We've also got rid of quite a few big figures during the early years of this journey. We've sold Ruben Kluivert, Lautaro Marzo, Marc Montañez, and the saddest one, Edu Valiente. None of them were really good enough to be in the team regularly anymore, so a lot of them complained, so I had to move them on. The UCL qualies were once again very easy. We beat Albanian Toita 10-0, Debrecen 8-2 and Vardar 8-1 on aggregate, before we'd once again face Shakhtar in a playoff. Just like the previous meetings with the Ukrainians, it was a difficult tie. With a 1-1 draw in the away leg, it looked like we'd get to the UCL proper again. And that feeling would only grow stronger, as we scored after only 4 minutes. But Shakhtar then scored a pen less than 10 minutes later. After hitting the post, Fratsao scored this pen to give us the lead. And after Zorin got a straight red, it was plain sailing. And we're through to the Champions League phase again. The fixtures look manageable, but Dortmund, Barca and Bayern are difficult. In the first game against Atalanta, there was loads of action in the first half. As we took the lead, Atalanta equalized. And then we scored twice more to have a 3-1 lead at the break. Caparros then decided to play some volleyball in our box, so Atalanta got a pen, which Can Uzun scored. Thankfully, we won 3-2 in the end after an incredible first half performance against a very decent Serie A side. Our next game against Dortmund was depressing. They scored after under 2 minutes after a corner, before Arkila scored a header to equalize. We then conceded twice more, both of them from f***ing corners. We're apparently incompetent at defending set pieces. Arteta then claimed us an easy opponent before our game against Barcelona. That was justified, to be fair. They got a controlled 2-0 win against us, as their star factor was clearly deciding. We've now got Real Sociedad away, which I thought would be a tight game where we could maybe get a result. But no, they've evidently turned into a great team, as we lost 4-1. We actually conceded another 2 defensive set pieces, so the changes I tried making to the set piece tactics have not worked.
Oh shit, here we go again.
In the next game, away to Saint Etienne, the first real chance came in the 58th minute, as they scored a deflected goal off of the Ghost. Sivkovic then scored again just 4 minutes later. Kisana reduced the arrears in the 85th before he scored another in the 92nd. But it was offside, so we lose yet again. At this point is when we brought in a new midfielder in Juan Chavez. He's taken Figs' place in the team, and we somehow managed to get $1.5 million for Figs. We've also sold Emilio Caparros since we've switched to a system that uses 2 center mids, so we didn't really have any use for him anymore. We've now got Bodo Glimt. We have to beat to have a chance of making it through. We did just that, as Paiva performed brilliantly. He got a brace and an assist to Arkila, as we win 3-1. We've now got, in my opinion, the hardest game yet, away to Bayern. And their manager, Eddie Howe, claimed us an easy opponent. Except for this big chance for Paiva in the 19th, nothing happened in the first half. But early on in the second, we actually did something on a corner, as the Ghost scored this header. Arkila then missed this big chance before Solari made this great save 3 minutes later. Gilvan, one of our subs who'd come on just 4 minutes ago, scored this rebound. Ouedraogo scored a consolation goal in the 90th, but we win away to Bayern. And with that win against Bayern, I thought we were basically guaranteed a playoff place. But we weren't. We actually have to win the last game against Nice to get through. We're at home against Nice, and we need to win this. Kisana got the message, as he did everything himself with this great solo goal. Early in the second half, we once again conceded from a corner. Boudaoui then scored in the 69th, before we equalized in the 76th through Chavez. But we needed a win, so I went all-out attack. That got punished. Straight after Chavez had scored this offside goal, Boudaoui scored again for Nice. We lost 3-2, which means we're out of the UCL. We have 9 points and we're not through.
Pain.
What that means for the coefficients is this. We've got 5.875 points, just like in Season 8. It's pretty disappointing, but we do actually move up another 3 places. I guess I'll take it, but the other Kosovan teams just aren't making any progress, and it's turning into a real issue. After a disappointing year in Europe, we had a brilliant year here in Kosovo. We won both the Super Cup and the Kosovan Cup, but the big achievement was made in the league. We won the league by 35 points. We won every single game. 30 out of 30. That's outrageous. Perfect invincible domestic season. By the way, just one final thing. Bayern won the UCL and we were the only team that beat them. So technically, we're the best team in Europe.
It's false. No way. Not this time. We created it. Not this time. No, not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction.
After that annoying season in Europe, we want to hit back. And to do so, we spent quite a lot of money. We bring in Matthijs Claesson for 2.4 million, Fernando Mariani for 7 million, Nicolas Petrelli for 7.5 million, Alexandra Diogo for 375k, and finally Aleksandar Gordic for 7 million. But how did we afford all this? Well, we sold Joaquim Paiva for 24 million to Feyenoord, where he's played 3 games. We also had to let a few club legends leave. Kaka, Gilvan and Miguel Almendra have all left the club as I couldn't give them the playing time they wanted. We entered in the second quali round of the UCL this year, because of the coefficient rankings. We beat Beitar Jerusalem 12-1 on aggregate, and then Neftchi 6-3, before facing Young Boys in the playoff. We went down 2-0 very early on in the first leg, but Brambati thankfully scored a brace, with the second coming in the 91st to get us back to level terms for the second leg in Kosovo. Literally nothing happened in the second leg, so it went to extra time. Nothing happened there either, so it went to pens. We went first, as Kisana scored this Panenka. Mariani then saved their first pen. Chryson and Romiger then scored their respective pens before Paiva, this was before we sold him, smashed his into the top corner. Mariani then saved again. Diogo scored the deciding pen, which means we're through to the league phase. The fixtures look like the easiest we've ever had. We should be winning against Omenoia, Galatasaray, Rangers and Braga, and we should absolutely be able to get a result against Porto as well. The first game against Omenoia, we took the lead through Brambati. But Diogo gave away the most unnecessary pen I've seen, which they scored. So we draw against Omenoia, which is our easiest game.
It's not good enough. I'm telling you. I'm sorry.
We're now facing Galatasaray away, which is a very winnable game. We were down 1-0 at the break because Chryson literally gave the ball to them. Natsao also missed a big chance and was performing bad all round, so I took him off for Claesson, who took the striker spot, with Brambati moving to the right wing. That worked wonders. We scored under 2 minutes into the second half through Brambati. We then won the ball straight from kickoff and Claesson scored this time. Then we won the ball straight from kickoff again and scored again through Brambati to get his second. 3 goals in 3 minutes. 10 minutes later though, we conceded. Brambati, who'd performed so well, then got a straight red card for a completely unnecessary challenge.
Why?
So Galatasaray got the equalizer 2 minutes after that. Deservedly though, Petrelli scored for us in the 90th minute to get us the win and a very important 3 points. Bayern at home is next. A game we'll probably lose, but we did beat them last year, so you never know. Sasha Muller, probably Thomas's son, scored this header for Bayern to give them the lead. Nothing really happened until Chryson scored a header of his own from Gordic's free kick. Nothing else happened, so we've managed to draw to Bayern. In the 2 games we've played them, we've won 1 and drawn 1. Against Porto in Portugal, they took the lead very early in the 6th minute. Minerva scored just 10 minutes later though. The same man scored again right after the break. Mariani then made a huge save just 2 minutes later. And in the 71st, Mejia did well down the left hand side before Kisna picked up the loose ball to cement the result and get us another 3-pointer. That's 8 points in 4 UCL games. The next game against Rangers was a very disappointing one. Brambati missed a basically open goal after 5 minutes, but Minerva thankfully scored in the 21st. Meyer then scored to equalize right before the break, which was also the final result. We really should be winning against Rangers, and especially when we have 3.65 XG. The board have just increased the transfer budget by 18 million by the way, on a complete whim. I mean, I'm not mad, I'm just very surprised. In the league, we've actually continued our winning run from last season, as we've won all 15 games so far. We're now up against Braga in the 6th UCL league phase game, which is a game we should be winning. And if we do so, we're guaranteed a place in the knockouts. As we've seen in the past, we give away the ball very easily while playing out from the back. so Braga scored in the 16th. They then get an absolute bullshit pen, which Abel Ruiz scores. Brambati fortunately scored in the 37th to keep the hope alive for us. Jorge Cabral, a player who's been in a loan farm for the last 4 years, then scored in the 66th to equalize. He then scored again after Fratsau did really well down the right side to square it to aforementioned Cabral. An incredible comeback, and we're up to 12 points. We actually have an outside chance of getting into the top 8 now. As Christmas times came along,
Happy Christmas! It's Christmas! Merry Christmas! Merry Chrysler!
I won the Manager of the Year award in Kosovo like many times before. But I've never had a 100% win rate before. That's pretty sick. I then got the message that my very loyal assistant manager was moving to Lapi to become their manager. So it's the end of an era. Right before our game against Manchester City, we lost the league game. The 51 game winning run has come to an end. Just to understand how long that is, the last time we dropped a point in the league was on the 19th of April 2031. That's a year and a half without dropping a single point.
Oh my God! Wow!
We're now heading to the Etihad to face Manchester City. Despite Sarr hitting the bar after 3 minutes, we actually took the lead in the 18th. Mariani made 2 very good saves before the deadlock was broken. Haaland scored to equalize it for City. We then, like too many times before, gave away the ball so Gustavo Real could score. Chavez did score the equalizer 3 minutes later, but it wouldn't matter, as David scored this heap of a goal in the 90th. A very close game considering the gap in quality between the two teams, so I'm proud of the performance either way. We controlled the next game the whole way through. At home to Juventus, Chavez missed this big chance after 4 minutes, but a minute later, Gordic scored this header. Other than an offside goal from Fratsau in the 92nd, nothing happened, so we win against Juventus. We just about miss out on top 8, as we get 9th on worse goal difference to exactly Juventus. In the knockout playoff round, we got to run Nice. It's a game we could win, but it is a difficult one. In the first leg, away from home, we lost 2-1 as Nice scored a goal which looked suspiciously like offside, as well as this goal from a short corner. Petrelli scored our goal, by the way. In the second leg, nothing really happened until I changed into an all-out attack tactic, which just got punished, to be honest. Nice scored in the 76th and the 85th to make it a 4-1 loss for us on aggregate. There really is something about these French teams in the UCL. We've effectively been knocked out by a French team 3 years in a row now. For the coefficients, that means we've got 7.625 points this season, which in turn means we're moving up 3 places once again. Once we get to 15th, we get 5 European spots, which could both help us and ruin us. We obviously win both the league and the cup again. We won the cup final 4-1 against Liria, but only after extra time had been played. We won the league by 18 points, so a big step down from last year as we lost 2 and drew 1 this year. But it's still very solid, and we're now tied on number of league titles won with Pristina at 8.
Ooh, you're hard showing off.
I've got a job offer from Manchester United, so I'm off to England. Psych!
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving!
With me staying and also extending my contract till 2038, I've got some serious budgets to work with ahead of this season. We bring in a new starting centre-back with big potential in Hamlet Julve for 3.1 million. We then bring in Isaac Root from AC Milan for 6.5 million. He's our new starting right wing-back, which we've been looking for a long time. Luka Chiappa, a rotating midfielder who can also play right wing-back, also comes in for 6.75 million. And we also bring in a backup centre-back in Isaac Torre. The final signing is one for the future, in Geir Andersen, from Norwegian side Odd for 3.2 million. There's also been some outs this window. We've sold Vila, Mateus, Jorge Cabral, Nicolau Seara, and finally Bashir Humphreys. They were all sold as we generally needed to upgrade the level of the squad players, and they weren't getting the playing time they all wanted. We smashed Skandia and Servette 8-1 and 8-0 on aggregate respectively before facing Red Star in the playoff. We won that as well after a crazy two-legged affair which ended in an 11-6 win on aggregate. We've got a relatively easy draw for the league phase fixtures. We're facing Inter, Galatasaray, Derry City and Man City away, and Köln, Bayern, Everton and Benfica at home. We should actually be able to push for top 8 with those fixtures.
It's not that bad.
The first league phase game away to
Internazionale. Would you like to face them in the semi-final?
at the San Siro ended in a 3-0 loss as Doku, Cam Evans and Diomande scored one each for the Italian side. We were genuinely just outclassed.
It's not bad.
The next game against Köln at home was utterly ridiculous. We conceded first in the 15th. We then hit the post before eventually equalizing a few minutes later. We then scored twice more to get a 2-goal lead into the break. Bogusavac then scored for Köln before Brambati scored for us after a great counter-attack. Köln then scored again as Torre cleared the ball into one of our other defenders before Gauto slotted it in to make it 4-3. Kisena thankfully scored in the 93rd, but Martel then scored for Köln in the 95th. But we did win in the end, after an outrageous game which definitely would have been entertaining for the neutral. The next game was a relatively easy one, as we won 5-1 away to Irish Derry City. Brambati got a hat-trick and Klaassen and a Ghost got the 2 other goals.
He's the best football player in the world.
For the next game, I decided to start new signing Chiappa in the middle of the park. That turned out to be a horrible decision, as he gave away the ball just 7 minutes in, so Galatasaray scored. Shortly after the break, we hit back by scoring 2 goals in 3 minutes through Klaassen and Brambati. Openda then decided to turn up, so he scored a brace to give the Turkish side the lead again. Kisena thankfully scored to equalize again, but it ended 3-3, which is quite disappointing. Against Bayern at home in the 5th league phase game, we deservedly lost 2-0. We did have 2 big chances, but Brambati and Mejia both missed.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
The next game against Everton I thought would be a very challenging game, but it was quite the opposite. We won the game 3-0 with Gordic, Klaassen and Fratsao getting the goals. We're now basically guaranteed a playoff place, but we should get a point to be completely sure. In the league, we've won all 15 games so far. We're at the top by 14 points down to 2nd place, and we look set for yet another title. Against Benfica at home, we took the lead through Brambati after this incredible pass from Trelli in the 17th. We then doubled our lead through Klaassen.
Harry Kane!
But Benfica scored straight from kickoff. Despite Benfica having this big chance in the 64th, we won 2-1 to secure some form of knockouts. The final league phase game, we deservedly lost 2-0 as Haaland and Mbombo scored the goals for Man City. That means we finish 14th in the league phase, so we're one of the seeded teams for the playoff round draw. In said draw, we get Ajax. It's a tie we definitely could win, but it's gonna be a tough one. Before the playoff round, we win the league after only 22 games played. We've won every single game so far, and it looks like we're gonna get another perfect league campaign. We've also taken the top spot on number of league titles in Kosovo, with 9 compared to Pristina's 8. Away to Ajax in the first leg, we took the lead after just 2 minutes. Klaassen played this brilliant pass through to Brambati, who scored. Ajax then had loads of chances. Before finally scoring in the 82nd. They then had another 2 decent chances, but one was missed and one was offside. So we draw 1-1 in the first leg, which I'll absolutely take. In the second leg in Kosovo, we took an early lead through Brambati once again. We held Ajax off for the whole game. So we win 1-0 and 2-1 on aggregate to make it through to the round of 16 for the first time in our history. We've got PSG in the round of 16. That's gonna be a difficult tie. In the first leg, we took the lead through Petrelli, who scored from Minerva's cross as Donnarumma had a howler. PSG then hit the post from a cross in the 55th, but we actually doubled our lead in the 62nd as Donnarumma had another howler. Xavi Simons scored for PSG in the 89th, so we only have a 1-goal advantage going into the second leg in Paris, which I'm slightly worried about considering we've lost there in the past. In the second leg, Petrelli scored from a short corner to get us a 2-goal lead on aggregate. The Ghost then scored from a short free kick to make it 4-1 on aggregate. In pure FM fashion, we conceded as the last thing that happened in the first half, so we lead 2-1 going into the break. Gordic then scored an own goal to make it 2-2. Greenwood then scored an offside goal straight from kickoff, before Gonzalo Ramos had a huge chance in the 94th. But Mariani saved it. We're actually through to the quarters. There we'll face Benfica. It's absolutely a winnable tie as we showed in the league phase when we beat them 2-1.
I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
The first leg was a tame affair. Benfica scored early on to make it 1-0, which was also the result going back home to Kosovo for the second leg. In the second leg, Villar scored after 17 minutes to extend their aggregate lead. Just 6 minutes later though, Claesson scored to reduce the arrears. We had loads of big chances, which we just couldn't convert. But in the 87th, Fratzau scored to equalize it on aggregate. Then, the last thing that happened, Petrelli drove with the ball down the left-hand side before squaring it for Kisena to tap in and get us through to the semi-final of the Champions League. What a comeback in the second half.
You have the facilities for that, big man.
The draw for the semi-final gave us Man City.
Oh. No.
Roth had a big chance after just a minute, but he missed it. We did actually hold City off for over a half of football, but the inevitable did happen in the 56th as Papaisar scored. Chiappa then literally played a through ball to Haaland, who obviously scored for City. So we lose 2-0 in the first leg, despite us having 1.88 XG and City having 1.05. The second leg was even more depressing though. We lost 3-0 as Haaland got 1 and Christian got 2 goals. So we fall at the second to last hurdle. But after all, we're not a team who should be winning the Champions League at this point. We've clearly overperformed. This second leg was actually so bad that the Rahoveci players refunded the tickets of the travelling fans. As you already know, we won the league. But we won it by 30 points, as we won every single game again. Pristina actually got relegated this season. The team with the second most Super League titles in Kosovan history. Lapi, Liria and Veronikeli 74 got the 3 other European spots, so we're probably not getting much help in terms of the coefficients next season. And as for the coefficients, we've got an astonishing 11.125 points this season. We're moving up a single place, up to 15th, which means we've got 5 European spots now, including 2 UCL spots.
That tastes like promotion!
The thing I feel we lacked in last year's brilliant season was some decent squad players. So we bring in a lot of them who rotate and obviously play quite a bit in the league. We bring in 2 centre-backs in Clinton Corbin and Vasco Fonseca, a left wing-back in Harry Amas, a right winger in Mats Dalgård Hansen, and finally a new starting striker alongside Brambati, Ariel Alonso. We've also sold Ratchanat Chrysorn to Feyenoord for 15.75 million, moving up to 20 million. We apparently just skipped the second and third round of the qualies this year, which I guess is because we went so far last year. So we only needed to smash Astana in the playoff, which we did with a 13-0 win on aggregate.
Hey! Come on, man! That's too easy!
We've actually got our easiest league phase fixtures yet, I'd say. We've got Marseille, Braga, Standard Liège, Girona and Galatasaray as the teams I think we could beat quite easily. And then we have Bayern, Inter and Chelsea, which we obviously have a chance against, but they'll be quite a bit harder to beat. And by the way, we have a 3,000 to 1 odds of winning the UCL despite getting to the semis last year. What? The first 3 games, we pick up 6 points. First, we lost 1-0 away to Marseille in a very dull game. We then deservedly won 3-1 against Girona as Amas got 1 and Alonso got a brace. The third game, we won 3-1 once again, away to Braga. Brambati got a tap-in and the Rotovol people got a brace. In the fourth league phase game at home to Inter, we conceded twice to speedman Doku after 18 minutes. So it looked like a replay of the 3-0 loss at the San Siro from last year. But 5 minutes before the break, Claesson scored a bit of a lucky deflected goal to give us hope. And then, in the 66th, Alonso turned his man and scored with a very nice finish to equalize. Just 10 minutes later, we put together an incredible attack which was finished off by Kissena to give us the lead. That would be the final result. An insane comeback against a very good Inter side. The 5th and 6th league phase games were a breeze. We won 4-1 at home to Galatasaray as Brambati got a hat-trick. We then won 5-0 away to Standard Liège, where it was Alonso's turn to get a hat-trick, but Brambati got another 2 as well. At the halfway point in the league, we're obviously at the top of the table, but not by much. We've drawn 1 game and otherwise we've won all the other 14. Liria are also unbeaten actually, and that's why we only have a 6-point gap. As we've won 5 out of 6 league phase games in the UCL, we only need 1 point from our last 2 games against Chelsea and Bayern to secure top 8. We're at home to Chelsea now, and we take the lead after just 2 minutes through Cicero. Yanchev equalized it for Chelsea after a half hour had gone by. But we took the lead again just a few minutes later as Cicero scored again, but a header from a corner this time. In the 70th, we put together a nice attack which Alonso scored to give us a 2-goal lead. Yanchev scored his second for Chelsea 10 minutes before the end. But they didn't get an equalizer, so we win 3-2 against Chelsea and we secure top 8 for the first time ever.
I'm a genius!
After scoring 3 minutes into the last league phase game against Bayern, it looked like we'd get yet another win to close out the league phase. But Musiala had other plans. So we draw 1-1 away to Bayern, which means we get 2nd place in the league phase. And guess who we got in the round of 16? Bayern Munich. In the first leg, there were 2 highlights for the whole game. This half chance from a free kick and this decent chance for Whittle, who shot wide. So it's all square for the second leg in Kosovo. In the second leg, we took the lead through Claesson after a good attack in the 14th. Mastantuono then hit the post and bar with this long-range effort. But right before the break, we double our lead through Petrelli from a short corner variant. After an offside goal and big pressure from Bayern for the whole second half, we eventually concede as Mastantuono scores in the 78th minute. Musiala then equalizes it for the Bavarians in the 87th, but just 2 minutes later, Brambati scores this header to make it 3-2. And then, in pure FM fashion, Sasha Müller scores for Bayern in the 96th minute to send it to extra time. In extra time, it was an end-to-end affair. Brambati missed this, and Bayern also missed a couple of good chances before they scored in the 111th. Brambati then scored in the 118th to equalize it, but we once again fuck it up in the dying embers. We concede in the 120th and the 122nd, so we lose 6-4 to Bayern and we're out of the Champions League after such a good league phase.
You don't know about it. It's like being stupid. It's only painful for others.
As for the league, we obviously win it. And we do so by 22 points as we win 29 out of 30 games. The 4 teams who show themselves as top teams in this save, Liria, Drita, Jelani and Balkani, get the 4 other European spots. The budgets for next season are just absolute madness. We've been given $1 million in wage budget and $55 million in transfer budget.
Tell them to bring me my money. Yeah!
And finally, the coefficients. We've got 8 points this season, which means we're moving up another 3 places. We're up to 12 now, and we're now getting 2 Europa League spots and easier ways through the respective qualies. After a disappointing season in Europe, we spend a huge sum on especially one player. But first, we bring in 2 young promising centre-backs in Beto and Serhii Maiboroda. They'll be rotating with our starters when we have multiple games in a week. And then, the player we spend £26 million on, Romeo Says. He's an incredibly promising midfielder who'll play a squad player role this season and then probably develop into a more and more important player for us. We've also sold 3 players. We've sold Franco Minerva, Isaac Torre and Vasco Fonseca.
Oh, so you want loyalty? Get yourself a dog.
The thing is, the player values are so low for us since we play in Kosovo. So I'm getting about a quarter of their actual value, and sometimes way less than that as well. We obviously breeze through the UCL qualies. We beat Shamrock Rovers 6-1 on aggregate, Tobel 14-0 on aggregate, and finally Sparta Prague 6-2 on aggregate. The fixtures are relatively easy, to be honest. We have Roma, Aston Villa, Fenerbahce and AC Milan at home, and Newcastle, Bayer Leverkusen, Celtic and Panathinaikos away. We could genuinely win all of them, so I'll be looking to get into the top 8 once again. And some other good news is that we finally have another Kosovan team in a European competition. Liria have qualified for the Europa League and Jelani have qualified for the Conference League. Admittedly, it didn't go too well in their league phase campaigns, but we finally have some progress from the other Kosovan teams.
Finally!
The first league phase game, we win 7-0 against Roma. Brambati got himself 4 goals to kick off the UCL campaign.
Oh fuck, I can't believe you've done this.
Away to Newcastle in the second league phase game, we took the lead after 32 minutes through Alonso. Right before the break though, Newcastle scored twice to take the lead. Seis then came on in the 68th and delivered 3 corners, and we scored from all of them. Cicero scored first, then Ruud, and then the Ghost. So we win 4-2 after an incredible second half comeback. The next game against Aston Villa at home, we took the lead once again, this time through Brambati. Literally nothing happened until the 94th, when Villa's goalie came up for a corner. He actually got the final chance and headed it on target, but Mariani was there to save it, and also secure us our 3rd win out of 3 games. At home to Fenerbahce, we won very easily 3-0 as Alonso got a brace. The next game, however, was depressing. We lost 2-0 away to Bayer Leverkusen despite having more XG than them.
Touching you, sweet Caroline.
In the league, we've once again won all 15 games. We're in the lead of the league by 11 points down to Jelani in 2nd, and we look set for another perfect league season. The last 3 league phase games, we draw 1 and win 2. First, we draw 0-0 with AC Milan, and then we win very easily against Celtic and Panathinaikos. That means we get 4th in the final UCL league phase standings with 19 points. So we're through to the round of 16 directly. Before the round of 16 draw, we win the league with 6 games to go. We've continued the winning streak and have won all 24 games. In the round of 16 draw, we get Arsenal. I actually think that's the most difficult team we could have got, so that's just great. In the first leg, at the Emirates, Arsenal scored first through Chernov, who scored this horrific goal. Shortly after the break though, Claesson scored with a great finish to equalize it. Not much else happened, so we take a very good result back to Kosovo for the return leg. In the second leg, we took the lead after just 6 minutes in the aftermath of a corner. We then won the ball straight from kickoff, so Claesson scored again. And from here, it was a walk in the park. We scored once more in the 93rd with this great solo run from Alonso. So we smashed Arsenal 3-0 in the second leg and we're through to the quarters. Now, at this point, I got offered a Barcelona job, and I thought, what a very weird time to fire your manager. But then I saw that Barcelona got knocked out of the UCL by Saint Etienne of all teams. I obviously declined the job though.
I never knew you were this weird. Really? No, because you kept it. We worked together for a couple of days. I know. You're absolutely mental.
In the quarters, we've been run Inter. It's gonna be a difficult time, but I really think we can make it through, you know. And in the semis, if we make it through obviously, we'll face either Saint Etienne or Juventus. I really think we've got a good chance of making the final this year. In the first leg against Inter, we took control from the off. After only 3 minutes, we put together a brilliant attack, which was eventually finished off by Alonso. Roughly 20 minutes later, Alonso got his second after this insane pass from Chavez to Claesson. Inter didn't really have any huge chances, so other than this penalty miss from Alonso to get his hat-trick, nothing really happened. So we take a 2-goal advantage with us to Italy. After 8 minutes of the second leg, Gordic gave away the ball to Nusa, who went up the pitch and eventually scored. Thankfully, in the 33rd, Alonso, Claesson and Brambati had some great link-up play to equalize it. And then, just like against Arsenal, we won the ball straight from kickoff. So Brambati got his second of the night and made it 4-1 on aggregate. Just 5 minutes after that again, Brambati scored again to get his hat-trick after an insane first touch. 2 minutes before the break though, FM showed us that it's still FM, as Doku scored. Literally nothing happened in the second half, so we win 3-2 in the second leg and 5-2 on aggregate. We're through to the semis again! In the semis we'll face Juventus, as they smashed Saint Etienne 4-0 in the second leg. I genuinely think we have a very good chance of beating them though, and make our first ever final. Just 15 minutes into the first leg, Alonso got injured and had to come off for Kisena. That's a big blow for us. But just 3 minutes after that, Juventus' goalie literally gave the ball to Brambati, who could just tap it into the completely open net. Valia then had a huge chance in the 42nd, but fortunately for us, he put it wide. Nothing else really happened to be honest, other than Seis getting his first goal for us in Europe. So we win 2-0 in the first leg, and we once again have a 2-goal advantage to take on our trip to Italy. Some sad news though is that Alonso's injury is quite bad. He'll be out for 3 to 5 weeks with a twisted ankle. He'll definitely miss the second leg of the semi-final, but he'll probably be ready for the final. If we get there, that is. 24 minutes into the second leg, Chavez played one of his insane passes through to Claesson, who scored. Shortly before the break, we doubled our lead as Kisena scored after a patient attack. 10 minutes into the second though, Juventus scored through Ouedraogo to give them some hope. In the 82nd, Ruggeri decided to score this banger. So now it's a game all of a sudden. But not for long, as Claesson scored straight from kickoff for us. It's not over yet though. Robertson scored for Juventus in the 91st, and again in the 93rd. But thankfully the ref blew his whistle shortly after, so we're through to the Champions League final. It's also come through that we'll face Bayern in the final, a team we've both beat and got beat by in the past, so it'll certainly be an interesting one. Before the final though, the league season was finished. We've won the league by 24 points as we once again win every single game. Ilani, Drita, Lapi and Balkani got the 4 other European spots, and I think next year could be a very good year in terms of the coefficients, since all the Kosovan teams have started developing nicely. Now, it's time for the UEFA Champions League final. According to the bookmakers, we're actually slight favourites. After only 6 minutes, Juve nearly scored an own goal, but Mariani was awake and managed to save it. In the whole first half, it was all Bayern. Esteves scored from a short free kick variant in the 13th, but fortunately it was offside. Lavia then hit the post with a long-range effort, before Sasha Muller made the inevitable happen, as he scored in the 37th. Right after the break, Musiala scored to double Bayern's lead. We had a huge chance to reduce the arrears roughly 15 minutes later, but Brambati shot straight at the goalie. He finally scored in the 93rd, but it's apparently offside. It probably would have been too late either way, but we would have had a chance at least. So it ends 2-0 and we lose the Champions League final to Bayern. We fall at the very last hurdle. But we will be back, I can assure you that.
This, today, is one of the worst days that I've had in a long time. I'm not in the mood to play with anybody.
A few days after the final, we got a couple of nice emails. Mariani had set a new record for amount of clean sheets in a UCL season, and Alonso had been named the Young Player of the Year in this year's Champions League, so that's at least something, I guess. The coefficients look pretty good. We've got 10.8 points this season, which means we're staying in 12th. But next season, or maybe the next one after that, we should be able to overtake both Norway and Austria, and make it into the top 10.
Okay, let's go.
Bayern have just offered me the job as their new manager. Marco Rose, who won them the Champions League last season against us, has just left the club to go to a struggling Newcastle side. Well, either way, I obviously decline. Before the season starts, we've brought in a few signings. Nothing major, but a couple of decent young talents. Adrian Agüero's come in, which was a signing I made solely based on the name, but it turns out to be a decent prospect, to be fair. Then Daniel Crosby, a squad player in midfield, Luis Semedo, a new backup goalie, and finally Noel van Pol, a decent looking centre mid. And by the way, he did not look like this when I signed him. He was a 2.5 star player with a bit of potential, but over the season his developments come through the roof. So now he's a world-class player all of a sudden. Since we got to last year's final, we went straight through to the league phase this year. But we have our most difficult league phase campaign ahead of us. We've got Besiktas, Copenhagen, Atletico Madrid and Juventus at home, and Bayern, RB Leipzig, Fiorentina and Dinamo Zagreb away. The first league phase game we won very easily 5-1 at home to Besiktas as Brambati got himself a brace. The two next games were horrible. First we dominated away to Bayern but lost 1-0 as they scored this shite goal in the 93rd. We then went to Leipzig and dominated there as well, but once again lost 1-0. Just look at the XG, man.
Shanice,
Yeah?
your mouth is moving a lot like a rat. Yappa, 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 yappa. Shut it, please.
The next game at home to Copenhagen was an easy one. We won 6-1 with Claesson being amongst the goals, with this outrageous finish.
What a head, son! What a head!
The fifth league phase game was at home to Atletico Madrid. And by the way, since we've already lost 2 games, we literally have to win all remaining games to get into the top 8. We had a couple of decent chances in the first half hour against Atletico, and we finally scored in the 35th minute through Brambati. We then had a couple more big chances, which were both squandered. But we did double our lead eventually, in the 48th through Brambati again. Atletico then got this bullshit pen, which Montserrat scored. But just 2 minutes later, our substitute Dalgard Hansen, who came on after Atletico's goal, scored to give us back the 2-goal lead. Montserrat then scored his second to make it 3-2. But we managed to hold on for the last few minutes and we win 3-2 against Atletico Madrid. We barely win though, and that's sort of our problem right now. We're missing so many big chances. The next game against Juventus at home was another disappointing one. We took the lead after just 2 minutes. But right before the break, Mariani came out to claim a cross, which ended in El Canous scoring for Juventus. Despite Juventus having 2 big chances, Mariani made up for his mistake in the first half with a great save in the second. That means we draw 1-1 against Juventus and we're basically guaranteed to have to go through the knockout playoff round.
Man, fuck this shit.
As we're halfway in the league, we've once again won all 15 games. We have a 13-point gap down to Liria in second, who's also played 2 more games than us. So we definitely look set for another title. Our next game, the 7th league phase game, is away to Fiorentina. There weren't a lot of chances, but Petrelli hit the bar from this long-range free kick, and Alonso missed this absolute sitter. Fiorentina then got this bullshit pen right after, which Basile scored. And that was it. We lost 1-0 away to Fiorentina, and we now have to win the final game to even get top 16. We obviously win the last game, as we hammered Dinamo Zagreb 6-0. Seis was amongst the goals, and he scored this banger. That win means we've got 15th place in the final league phase standings. It's been a horrible season in Europe so far, and getting top 16 isn't actually that beneficial this year, since there are so many huge teams in the bottom 8 of the top 24. And that became abundantly clear as we got Real Madrid in a knockout playoff round. At the time, I was thinking that this is looking more and more rigged against us, but we'll have to just make the best of it, I guess. Before the knockouts though, we win the league with 7 games to go. We've once again won all our games so far, and it looks like we'll continue to do so. In the first leg, at the Bernabeu, we start brilliantly. Seis first missed this big chance, but in the 23rd, Brambati scored after this incredible pass through from Gordic. The same Serbian man, Gordic, played another great pass through to Petrelli in the 66th, but the Argentinian missed it. And other than this huge chance for Persoon, which I don't understand how he's not scored, nothing else happened. So we win 1-0 away to Real Madrid. What a result! And it is a bit of a robbery, by the way. We had 0.89 XG, while Real had 1.87.
Hook 'em up, Mater.
Okie dokie.
In the second leg, we started brilliantly once again. Root won the ball high up the pitch and went the whole way on his own and scored a great solo goal. Seis then made a big mistake as he headed the ball down to Bellingham, who had an easy job of converting. Nothing else happened until Manuel scored for Real Madrid in the 82nd, so it's all square now. Semedo then scored for Real in the 92nd. How have we f***ed this up? But just as I thought we were out, Alonso popped up and scored in the 95th. So it's extra time and I'm very nervous, since we always seem to lose in extra time. But that was not the case this time. Alonso scored in the 92nd, Van Paul scored in the 99th, and Crosby scored in the 104th. We scored 3 goals against Real Madrid in 15 minutes, so we win 5-3 in the second leg and we're through to the round of 16 after an insane tie against Real Madrid. We've been drawn Arsenal in the round of 16, just like last year. It's probably going to be a difficult tie, but we've shown that we can beat them in the past. So I'm confident. By the way, Drita and Jelani both managed to qualify for the Conference League this year, and both have made it through the league phase and the knockout playoff round. Drita won 4-1 on aggregate against Astana, and Jelani somehow managed to win 3-2 on aggregate against Fenerbahce. That's incredible, and also very good for the coefficients. Just like usual, we started brilliantly in the first leg against Arsenal at home. Seis scored a tap-in from Van Paul's incredible low cross after just 8 minutes. Rodriguez then scored in the 45th after this outrageous pass through from Saka. Not a lot happened in the second half, so we draw 1-1 at home to Arsenal, which isn't really an ideal result to take to the Emirates. In the second leg, both teams got an early goal. We scored through Seis, while Arsenal got theirs through Chadnov. Mariani made a big save in the 51st, before our super sub Alonso scored for us in the 64th. In the 82nd, Simon came out to claim a cross, but he completely whiffed it. So Claesson hit the bar and Alonso scored a rebound. So we win 3-1 in the second leg and we're through to the quarters. In the quarters, we get Bayern. It's so typical, man. And if we get through to the semis, we'll face either Tottenham or PSG. It's definitely a more difficult way to the final this year than last year, that's for sure. Before the first leg against Bayern, we somehow draw 1-1 against Balkani in the league. So we lose our 70-something game winning run. But we're still on a 120-something game unbeaten run, so it's not the end of the world. Like always, we start brilliantly. Gordic scored in the 9th minute after a nice passing move. And 20 minutes later, we got a pen, which Brambati dispatched. Right before the break though, Semi Kiliksoy scored this outrageous goal. I mean, how? The same man scored again in the 58th, so it's all square again. In the 73rd, Maiboroda scored this towering header from Alonso's free kick cross, but it was just about offside. So it ends 2-2 in the first leg, which isn't really a good result to take to the Allianz Arena.
Oh, no, hang on. I've just realised.
What?
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Before the second leg, I decided to drop Romeo Seis from the starting 11 and put Petrelli in his place, while Van Pol took Petrelli's place in the midfield. The second leg was pretty depressing, to be honest. Musiala scored in the 27th, before Semi Kilexoy scored 5 minutes later to double it. In the 70th, Claesson scored this banger from a short free kick to give us some hope.
This is not a banger. This is not a banger. And I know bangers. I know bangers.
And 7 minutes later, Chiappa scored to equalize it. But it's fucking offside. They're claiming that Alonso's in the way, which it just isn't. Seis then missed this huge chance to equalize, so we lose 2-1 in the second leg, and we're out of the Champions League. We lose yet again to Bayern, and I'm starting to think we actually have a curse against them.
Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
In the end, we win the league by 28 points, as we won every single game except for that one draw against Balkani. Liria, Kosovo, Balkani and Pristina get the 4 other European spots, so neither of the 2 teams that got to the last 16 in the Conference League is playing in Europe next season. Because of the results of Drita and Jelani in the Conference League, we got 11.3 coefficient points this season. So that means we're moving up 2 places and we're into the top 10.
Get the out of here, bitch! Oh! You like that?
Before the season starts, we brought in 2 huge signings. The first one, which we got on a free from Dortmund, is Pierre Kitenge. He's quite literally one of the absolute best strikers in world football. So with him alongside Brambati up top, we'll actually have the best striker partnership in the whole world. The second signing is not as huge, but it's a world-class player either way. His name is Andrew Kunwa Lee. He's completely English, but has a not so English last name. Either way, we've bought him for a record fee actually, of 37.5 million from Newcastle. And the reason to how we got him so cheap is since he only had a year left on his contract. He'll take Rod's spot in the UCL team, but Rod will obviously still play a lot in the league and such. We smashed Danish outfit Viborg FF 12-2 on aggregate in the UCL playoff to get to the league phase. There we'll face Real Madrid, Fenerbahce, Saint Etienne and Fiorentina away, and Juventus, Barcelona, Köln and Stuttgart at home. We should be able to win all of them, but the games against Real Madrid and Barcelona will probably be quite tricky. We have our most difficult UCL game first, away to Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. We score first through Brambati in the 31st after a great attack. But just 3 minutes later, Endrick scores for Real, a shot which Mariani should be saving. Right after the break, Kitenge had a huge chance, but he shot well wide. And 7 minutes later, Petrelli got his second yellow for literally winning the ball. So we're down to 10 men. Lacoste then scored from that free kick which Petrelli got his second yellow. We then scored not 1 but 2 offside goals in the 85th and 93rd. So we lose 2-1 at the Bernabeu in the first league phase game.
Can I ask you guys something? How are you both so happy? Doesn't it weigh on you that the world might be ending? Can I tell them our secret? Come here, come here. We're very, very stupid.
The next game against Juventus at home, we controlled the whole way through. Kitenge hit the bar in the 15th, and Juventus almost scored an own goal in the 21st. But we finally scored in the 24th, as the Ghost scored this header from Brambati's corner. In the 58th, Kitenge scored from Kunwa Lee's pass across the box to double it. In the 90th, Busman scored for Juventus, but Amos scored for us after an incredible counter-attack run from Corbin to get back our 2-goal lead in the 93rd. So we win 3-1 against Juventus to secure the first points of the league phase. Away to Fenerbahce, we only won 2-0, with goals from Claesson and Brambati, despite having over 5 XG. Just like last season, we have some of these games where we just waste and waste and waste big chances. The next game, we once again win 2-0. this time away to Saint Etienne. Kitenge scored both our goals, one very early and one very late. We've now got Barcelona at home in the 5th league phase game. Nothing happened in the first half, but not long after the break, Mariani made this huge save. But unfortunately, Betrancourt scored the rebound for Barcelona. In the 65th though, Dalgard Hansen equalized it for us. And straight from kickoff, we win the ball and eventually go up the pitch and score again. This time through Brambati. And just 4 minutes after that again, we score again as Alonso scores the rebound off of Petrelli's shot. Nothing else happened, so we win 3-1 against Barcelona. What a comeback and what a performance. Fiorentina away is next, a game we lost last year. We definitely didn't lose this one though, as we won 3-0. Brambati scored twice, in which one of them was this. I mean, what the hell is bro doing? And also, look at the goalie for Brambati's second goal. I think Fiorentina must have been drinking before the game, man. What are they doing? Seis scored our final goal, and we've now got 15 out of 18 possible points. We've once again won all 15 league games as we're halfway in the league, and we have a 10-point gap down to Balkani in second, so we look set for yet another league title. The next UCL game, we demolish Köln. We win 6-0 with 6 different goal scorers. Claesson, Kunwali, Gordic, Brambati, Petrelli and Kitenge scored our goals.
And is there a reason?
Well, you know, I was gonna do it, but then I thought about it and I realized, oh, this is a huge waste of my time. So I didn't do it.
The final league phase game, we win very easily 4-1 at home to Stuttgart. Petrelli scored first, then a Brambati brace, and Julve scored the final one. That means we actually win the league phase. We've got first place with 21 points and 7 out of 8 wins. It's been a genuinely brilliant season in Europe so far. The same can't really be said about the other Kosovan teams. Both ENTIRE Kosovo and Liria managed to qualify for the Europa League, but both have also been knocked out in the league phase. ENTIRE Kosovo got 7 points, while Liria got 8 and were just 1 point off the top 24. Balkani though qualified for the Conference League, and they've made it through both the league phase and the knockout playoff round. They got 19th in the league phase and met 9th place CSKA Sofia in a playoff round, which they won 6-0 on aggregate. They then lost 4-1 on aggregate to Wolfsburg in the round of 16. But they got far, to be fair. Before the round of 16, we win the league with 6 games to go. We've won all 24 games so far and look set for yet another perfect league season. We've also signed a new goalie in a January window actually. Colombian Jordan Lara has come in for 17.5 million from Sporting, and he'll be our new starting keeper. In the round of 16 we get Fiorentina, which is an incredible draw, and a tie we absolutely should win. In the first leg, literally nothing happened until Fiorentina's defender Asta played the ball straight to Kitenge, who had a very easy job of converting in the 45th. And from there we just hammered them. Claesson scored in the 54th, Kitenge scored in the 63rd before they got one back in the 74th. But we then scored twice more in the 82nd and 89th to make it a 5-1 win away from home in the first leg. The second leg was an easy affair as well, as we won 3-1 with Claesson, Seis and Chavez scoring the goals for us. In the quarters we'll face none other than Bayern. Fuck me bro, what is this? It's so rigged, man. Anyway, if we get through, we'll face either PSG or Real Madrid, which isn't really that much easier. In the first leg against Bayern, the guests had the initiative in the first half. Moreira had a huge chance saved by Lara after 6 minutes, before Kiliksoy got a pen for Bayern since he was too slow to get to the ball. But Moreira made his evening even worse as he missed the entire goal. Right after a break, Claesson scored from Brambati's cross to give us the lead. Bayern then had 3 good chances, but they either missed or Lara saved. So it ends 1-0 to us. But there's still a huge job ahead of us in Munich. In the second leg there were a couple of decent chances for both teams, but neither team could convert for the whole game. So we draw 0-0 in the second leg. That means we've finally broken the curse against Bayern, and we're through to the semi-final. We finally beat the fuck from Munich. As Real Madrid barely beat PSG in the quarters, we'll face them in the semis. We're away at the Bernabeu in the first leg, and Real dominated us in the first half hour. Endrick scored an offside goal after 6 minutes. And Almanza had a good chance a few minutes later. In the 21st minute, we give the ball away and Lacoste scores. And just 6 minutes later, we concede again, this time to Almanza. Fortunately, we scored 10 minutes before the break, as Claesson shot from a corner variant and it got counted as an own goal. 10 minutes after the break though, Lacoste scored again. Thankfully for us, Van Pol scored right before the end in the 91st minute to give us some hope going into the second leg in Kosovo. The first thing that happened in the second leg was that Lara got injured, so Mariani had to come on for him after 19 minutes. And just 2 minutes later, Endrick scored this header from Cobber's cross. The next chance for either team didn't come till the 63rd, where we scored through Kitenge after a good counter-attack. And just 7 minutes later, Gordic played this insane pass through to Kitenge, who made no mistake one-on-one with the goalie to equalize it on aggregate. 5 minutes after that again, we battle our way through the Real defense, and Chavez ends up scoring to give us the lead for the first time over the 2 legs. In the 91st, Kitenge missed this huge chance to cement the result, but thankfully the ref blew his whistle moments later. We're through to the final. What an insane comeback in the second half of the second leg.
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
Barcelona just about beat fellow Spaniards Real Sociedad in the other semi-final, so we'll be facing the Catalans in the final. It's definitely a game we can win, as we showed earlier this year. A sad one to take is that Lara's injury is quite bad. He's torn his wrist ligaments and is expected to be out of the final. Before the final, we finish the league season. We win the league by 26 points in the end, as we win all 30 games. We've also got the top 3 on the top scorer list and all top 6 on the top assister list in the league, which is quite hilarious. The top scorers were Fratzao with 32, Kitenge with 26 and Alonso with 24. The day is finally here. The biggest day of our lives. The UEFA Champions League final. Before the game, the bookmakers have actually put us as big favorites, so the pressure is most certainly on us. The lineup is ready. Mariani in goal, he's had to step in for Lara, which is actually quite fitting since he's been our number 1 for such a long time. Julve, Marboroda and Corbin at the back, a rock solid defense who's just grown stronger this season. Gordic and Kunwali on the wingbacks flying up and down the flanks. Petrelli and Van Pol in the middle of the park spraying passes and getting the occasional goal. Claesson on the right, our Norwegian boy of wonder, and finally Kitenge and Brambati up top. The best striker partnership in world football. The stage is set and it's live. We start with a big scare after just 10 minutes. Marboroda lets a long ball go over him, so Vidal Santos is one-on-one with Mariani, but the Argentinian saves it. 4 minutes later, Marboroda plays this brilliant ball over to Claesson, who crosses low into Kitenge, who has an easy job of converting and give us the lead. The next 10 minutes, Barcelona pushed hard for an equalizer. Darvic hit the post from this free kick, Kabongo shot wide, and Darvic missed this big chance. 20 minutes later, Van Pol played this beautiful pass over the Barcelona defense to Brambati, who got tripped up, and we get a pen. Brambati steps up and slots it into the roof of the net to double our lead. In the 58th, I brought Alonso, Seis and the Ghost on to get some fresh legs in the mix. And literally just 2 minutes later, Seis delivers this corner to the Ghost, who scores a towering header to surely cement the result. What an impact straight from the bench. There were quite literally no other highlights for the rest of the game, so we've finally done it! We're champions of Europe! After 16 years of some massive ups and downs, I feel like I've done what I can do for this country. I brought Rahoveci all the way from the Kosovan second tier, all the way to being European champions. And I've brought Kosovo from 32nd, first down to 45th, but up to 10th place in the coefficient rankings. So Kosovo and the Kosovan league system is now the 10th best in all of Europe. And with that, I'll say, I am fucking leaving.